This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, well, welcome to a Friday afternoon edition of the Mark Reardon Show as we take you into the weekend with the Reardon Roundtable. It's set to start here in just a couple of minutes. Sue is off once again today. Ethan Hannaford will do Sue's News. We'll have Paul Hall with some recommendations. The Michael Jackson movie is out in theaters. He has seen that. There's some streaming stuff as well. We'll have Cusumano take us into the weekend. How about Jeremiah Love? Number 3 overall last night. St. Louis kid. Highest St. Louis kid to ever go in the NFL draft. That's amazing. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And then we'll talk a little baseball in the 5 o'clock hour, too. There's a guy named Kevin Abing who has written a book called Baseball Magic and Mayhem in St. Louis. The 1926 Cardinals World Series champions 100 years ago. Let's get started here by introducing the panel. Former, State Senator Jeff Smith is not here yet. We should probably point that out. But, Sean, you're on time. The mayor of Eureka, Sean Flower, is here. How are you this afternoon?
Doing great. It's my best quality. I'm always on time.
Well, you are on time, and unfortunately, our other panelist isn't. But let me start, and you had not heard about this, right? So Ray Hartman was killed yesterday, media mogul of St. Louis. You know, he started the Riverfront Times. He was on Donnybrook for many, many years. Interestingly enough, I've been back in St. Louis for 20 years, right? When I knew Ray Hartman when would the first Gulf War have been? That would have been like early 90s,
It was early
right?
91, I think.
So he actually was dating a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine at the time. And I remember being with him and being at parties, and we argued and debated about the Gulf War, right? So that's kind of the interaction I had with him. But when I came back to St. Louis, believe it or not, I never interacted with him. I've never had him on the show, but I'd seen him at some events. But what happened yesterday is he's driving in St. Charles, and there is a semi-truck's wheels that came loose and crushed the roof of his car. It's a terrible, terrible thing that happened. It was on eastbound 64 west of 270, and he was pronounced dead at Mercy Hospital. Charlie Brennan, very close with Ray Hartman, obviously, with Donnybrook. He said this today.
Ray was St. Louis institution. I mean, everybody knew the guy from the Riverfront Times and, of course, one of the founders of Donnybrook. He and Martin Dugan and Rich Coster, Bill McClellan, Mark Vittert started that show in January of 1987. And until 2 years ago, he was in people's living rooms every Thursday night.
You know, if we're being honest, I started doing the Reardon Roundtable, believe it or not, in the late 1990s when I was here in St. Louis in a different incarnation. But it was partly inspired by Donnybrook. It was also, Bill Maher did a show back then called Politically Incorrect. So when I had the idea for the Roundtable, that was part of the reason. Here is Ray talking about, just how Donnybrook started.
Welcome to Donnybrook, a freewheeling exercise with no holds barred.
Businesses that aren't run as well as they should. Anheuser-Busch is not making charitable contributions to the NFL. They advertise in the NFL for one reason alone: they sell beer.
My dear friend Martin, I worked for at the Globe Democrat in high school, invited me to audition for the show, and McClellan, and we actually auditioned in Mark Vittert's kitchen, so it wasn't a certainty that we somehow made the cut.
That's kind of funny, the backstory there. Here's a clip.
And that's it. They want to talk about crime, but no gun. We don't want to talk about taking guns off.
But still, what is your plan?
What
is your plan?
They won't respect, whether it's Tashara Jones or whoever, they have no respect for city officials and even police as to the solutions.
You said the oversight, that the whole jail.
There's a good old-fashioned argument like we have right here on Friday afternoons on the Reardon Roundtable. I believe he was 73 years old. Just a terrible, terrible, tragedy. What do you do in that situation? I always worry about this because I've heard of things falling from overpasses and things like that. I remember when I was in Milwaukee, there was a terrible accident like that, just kind of a freak accident, and someone was killed instantly. Former State Senator Jeff Smith is also with us this afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Did you know Ray at all?
Oh, yeah, I knew him well.
I figured you would.
Oh, yeah. No, we were in the men under 5'6" club.
That's actually, I didn't think about that, but that's true, isn't it?
Yeah, great guy and a good friend. Just a horrible, unthinkably arbitrary tragedy.
I can't even imagine.
I had something similar about 2 months ago. I was driving down to Memphis with my son to a rock climbing competition. All of a sudden, we were 20 minutes outside of Memphis. We heard the loudest bang or boom of our life.
Yeah.
We didn't have any idea what it was. And we looked up and just an explosion. And the sunroof, the glass sunroof of my car was completely shattered, and the entire car was filled with glass. And we had no idea. We looked around. We didn't know if someone had like shot a bullet into it. All we could assume, we think a semi that was driving by going in the opposite direction kicked up some rock or something.
So you really don't even know
we
the definitive
still have no
answer.
idea. We have no idea what it was, but like it could have killed us.
Yes. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and the one story, I told this story a couple of years ago, just quickly because we're, talking about near misses and stuff. I was heading to Columbia one night after the show, and I start to approach the bridge over the river in St. Charles where the casinos are, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm a pretty, I consider myself a pretty good defensive driver, but that's 5 lanes, I think, at that point. And I noticed that there is a truck with a trailer, just kind of and it didn't have anything on the trailer, but it was one of those things that maybe a lawn care company would have or something like that. And I see him start to fishtail, right? Mm-hmm. And I have 2 choices. This all happens very quickly. I either have to gun it and get past because I can see that trailer about to come loose, or I got to back off. So somebody passes me on the left, the trailer rips off the truck, comes across the highway right in front of me, slams into the car that had passed me right into the the edge of the bridge. And luckily that person was not killed. Here's another interesting story about that, just as a side note, because it's so weird. So I go to Columbia, and there were all my friends that I hunt with, and they were there. And one of my friend's daughters is physician assistant here in St. Louis. So she comes back on Monday. This is a true story. She says, guess who my patient was today? The person who got hit by the trailer on Friday night. How weird is that? It's just bizarre. I never got called. I thought I would be called like to be a witness or something like that. But that never happened. But Ray Hartman dead at the age of 73. All right, let's talk about, Jeff, we'll start with you. I thought about a way to kind of get into this conversation about the state income tax, which is going to go to the ballot. And, Democrats don't seem to like it. Republicans seem to like it, although not all Republicans. But, Jeff Smith, why couldn't we, and I'm asking this very seriously, why couldn't we have a situation where Governor Kehoe comes to the table and Republicans with a potential, very bold move in getting rid of the state income tax? Why couldn't everyone, Republicans, Democrats, say, you know what, confiscating less money from people and the taxpayers, that seems like a good idea. Maybe we can get together, we can talk about this, we can see where we agree, where we don't agree, and where the possibility is. Instead of knee-jerk saying, this is a terrible idea, Mark, it's going to fail, Republicans are going to tax people everywhere else, why can't we have a conversation like that?
So I'm not sure, maybe you weren't watching in Jeff City. Democrats didn't get up and make a huge stink about it. The entire debate on the Senate floor, I think, lasted less than an hour. And the people who spoke against it for the longest were Republicans.
Well, I'm aware of some of that,
like
yes.
Mike Moon and Joe Nicola. Democrats got in, worked out a deal and said, we don't love this, but we're not going to spend the next, 6 weeks of session when there's other important issues filibustering this and screaming about it. We're just going to say, hey, we would like to make a few of these changes, and they got a few changes extracted in negotiations, and they didn't talk about the bill for literally more than
but how many Democrats in the House voted for it?
We're not talking about who voted for it. You said,
okay.
What? Oh, I'm going by your criteria. You were saying, why are Democrats, screaming and bitching, and that's not what happened.
Okay. Well, some are outside of the Senate chambers and the House chambers. Let me rephrase the question here. Why can't Democrats vote for it in the House? There you go.
Okay.
Steve Butts, was probably listening this afternoon. Why can't Steve, who's a common sense guy, say, okay, we're going to put this to the voters. We're going to have a discussion about this. This is a pretty good idea.
Well, because a lot of common sense people took a look at it and said, this income tax comprises about 2/3 of state general revenue, and that's a pretty big hole that we'll need to fill. And unless we're going to have draconian cuts in services, or we're going to significantly raise some other taxes like the state sales tax, I'm not sure how we reconcile these visions. It's not, I think it's kind of a straw man argument to say, Democrats are against people having more of their money, but I think Democrats recognize that now, with Social Security taxes not being taxed in Missouri, for senior citizens, they're not paying much in income taxes, but when they're trying to deal with inflation, they're paying a lot more for their groceries, they're paying a lot more for their medications, and so if the taxes on things where prices are already have been rising a lot go up, and the income and the income tax goes away, but seniors weren't paying much of that anyway, then maybe disproportionately this tax change hurts low-income seniors who need help.
Well, one of the things we don't know is, and this is maybe just a little backwards is we don't know what the carve-outs are going to be, and eventually there's going to be some carve-outs, right? There's going to be a lot of lobbying that goes on in this, but you're a business owner and the mayor of Eureka. What's your perspective on this? Look, it would be amazing to have no, state income tax in Missouri to perhaps compete more with businesses. Will it have the effect that Governor Kehoe and others think?
I just think it's a very, very complicated thing to actually do. I mean, concept-wise, you're like, hey, I'm going to switch from, I guess basically say switch from income tax to sales tax, and you point at successful states. You look at like a Florida, or you look at different places, Tennessee.
Tennessee comes
They'll
up
say,
a lot.
okay, I'm attracted. And I've seen it. I mean, people do move there to avoid, they'll get the advantage, or they'll do the 6 months on a day to try and get the tax advantage. But man, I mean, talk about that'd be the biggest one. If you were going to change your entire revenue stream for your business, you would think you'd have some models or projections that would show that what I need, here's my spending, and here's what the sales tax is going to do. And there's really nothing like that out there. We're arguing hypotheticals and we're doing things. But I also, like, you start thinking about, okay, do you tax like the sale of a house? I mean, you want to make houses more affordable, but are you going to pay sales tax on a house? Or are you going to pay sales tax if you have to hire an attorney, an accountant? Because that's what they're really talking about,
right,
to get the revenue. So to me, I don't know that it necessarily, to your point, I don't know that it necessarily does take less. I really don't know. Does it take? Because at some point it's got to take about the same just to cover the bills. You're just getting it a different way.
That's what some people think, that we're just shifting the burden, right?
And then the question is, what's the best way to do it? But I don't necessarily have a problem with the process. I just, like, when you start talking about the carve-outs, what's funny is they've got votes right now at the state that are approving putting this on the ballot to do a sales tax. And there's even more, there's bills down there they're debating to do more exemptions from sales tax right now.
Well, I know. Look, Sean Flowers here, Jeff Smith. Jeff, on the political reality of this, because, look, I went, when this thing gets passed the other day, I reach out to some folks who are consultants, both sides, and pretty much everyone said this is not going to pass. So what are your thoughts on that? Because that would be a pretty big failure for Governor Kehoe and the Republicans.
Look, there's going to be a lot of money spent on both sides. I've heard people call this bill the Political Consultant and Lobbyist Employment Act of 2026.
Probably not too inaccurate, right?
So you're in favor of it.
I'm not, full disclosure, I'm not working on either side of it.
Yet.
I don't have any interest in working on it. I've got a full plate.
I mean, if you could get on both sides of it, you probably
Yeah.
And there are consultants that do that. But I'm not one of them who's ever done that, and I can't envision working on this. I will say there's going to be a lot of money spent on both sides. Obviously, this has been a passion of Rex Singfield's for a long time, and he certainly hasn't been shy about putting his money where his mouth is in Missouri politics. I expect that we'll see a lot of multi-million-dollar spend on that side. On the other side, labor and other progressive groups, I think, around the country are going to spend a lot to defeat it. And the polling that I've seen on this, and this goes from both sides, is that the pro get rid of the income tax side, their polling is like kind of 50-50-ish. And the anti-side, their polling looks really good, that when people learn more about it, that they overwhelmingly flip to being against it. Missourians tend to be pretty skeptical on a lot of these initiatives and kind of default towards no. You really got to spend and make the case for yes. So if I had to bet it right now, I would probably lean no narrowly.
But how do you I know that the realtors and other groups are going to spend some money to defeat this, but without knowing this is where they kind of did it backwards, right? Without knowing what the carve-outs are going to be, you can make claims about things that, okay, you're going to have to go pay sales tax when you sell a house, or you go to your doctor or whatever, but we really don't know the answer to that.
We don't. I mean, there's two totally different strategies. One strategy would be keep it real vague, and that way there's not that much to shoot at. But the problem, as you just referenced, is the downside of that strategy is you can kind of shoot at everything and say, prove me wrong. It's going to raise taxes for your house. It's going to raise taxes for this. And I honestly think if you do it, you shouldn't have any exemptions. Because I think, obviously lobbyists are going to make a ton of money going to argue for the exemptions. But I think if you're going to do it, it should be for everybody. And you shouldn't have agriculture being favored over other types of industries. Everybody should just be treated the same.
Here's what our friend and fellow Roundtable panelist Greg Keller had to say on the X, formerly Twitter, that when we eliminate Missouri's income tax, a household earning $60,000 will save $2,433 a year in income taxes. He says the same family would have to spend $30,000 on taxable services a year to not end up in the black on this overall. How would you respond to that?
$30,000 in services?
At whatever the percentage would be.
Yeah,
which again, we don't know.
Yeah, well, we don't know.
I think maybe in both of our heads right now, Sean, we're trying to figure out how much do we spend on services versus goods every year.
That's what I'm saying, like what he's doing there. And I guess my one response would be, unless you think there's some explosive growth that just comes from the idea of having real estate or having income tax versus why not just do the same thing by continuing to reduce the income tax rate? You have the system set up. You don't have any issues. So if you don't need extra money, but they must have some thought where they're like, hey, if I do this, something explosive is going to happen. But I don't know what that is. Are you just keeping people
Do you
here
agree with that?
leave?
Because obviously the cornerstone of this, from Governor Kehoe's perspective, not only is allowing people to keep more of their money, but to spur economic growth.
Of course, that's what Governor Kehoe wants to do. I don't doubt his motives.
Right.
I don't think like he's doing this to just like help some rich people. I think he believes in this, and that's fine. I don't necessarily agree with him. I do think that some of the states that are used as the big comparison states, of Florida, Tennessee, they've got huge advantages that we don't have here in Missouri, right? Florida's got a great climate that people want to go to.
We have the Missouri River. We have the Merrimack River. Are you kidding me? We can compete with that.
I got Six Flags, man.
Yeah.
And look, we all know that like there's just been over the last couple decades a historic boom in country music from being a niche genre to being a mainstream thing that kind of most people are familiar with or listen to. And so the explosion of Nashville and all the ancillary industries around Nashville.
Hard to compare. I get it. I do get it. Hang on. It's the Reardon Roundtable on a Friday. We're coming back.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
However, what is not set up here, let me see. Trent, you there? No, I don't think so. Unfortunately, Sue is out, and we did not dial the button correctly. So hang on, Trent. If you can hear me, we're going to get to you here in a second for our first traffic report of the afternoon. There you go. I think we got you. Nope, I don't hear him, Ethan. That is not Opal. That says something else, I think. See if you can get it to Opal. I'm going to give this about 5 more seconds, and then I'll try something else. Trent, you there?
I am.
All right,
here,
go
yes.
ahead. Sorry about the delay. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. Southbound 270, we've got some heaviness between St. Charles Rock Road and 70, and then 70 westbound, slow going past Jennings Station. And then spots through T.R. Hughes into the O'Fallon area out to 64. 64 westbound, slow Kings Highway to Clayton, Lindbergh to 270, 364 to 70 in Wentzville. 170 northbound, slow past Airport Road to 270 and 55 northbound. Kind of heavy from Germania on up to Virginia with a stall in the right lane. I'm Trent Erickson at 320 on 97.1 FM Talk.
Guys, I want to guide you into some great health services at Game Day Men's Health in Chesterfield. Matt Lawrence is awesome. I've gotten a chance to know him very well. And his location is really special. It's kind of like a man cave environment, so you're going to get that first and foremost, very comfortable. They're still offering you a free testosterone and PSA test just for coming in, getting to know the team. They'll come up with a plan for you. Now, they have a lot of different services. They have testosterone therapy, of course, to get you more on track when it comes to energy, etc. But they do a lot of other things. They have their own pharmacy, so they have GLP-1s. Weight loss is something that they can certainly cover, even with women. Even though it's called Game Day Men's Health, women can take advantage of that. They have anti-aging medication, hair loss medication, peptides and vitamins have really blown up. So if you have questions about any of these things, go to the professionals, go to the experts, and that's what they have at Game Day Men's Health. This is an organization that's really growing across all of North America, this country, and in Canada. They have a great clinic out in Chesterfield. There is no one-size-fits-all, right? This is doctor-guided. They have private sports lounge clinics, very personalized to you, and results that will be visible. Check out Game Day Men's Health today. Make that appointment in Chesterfield. GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
License number GL2500615.
Hey, it's good to hear you.
Hey, Dad. Isn't it good to see ya?
Yep, but with smoke alarms, we need to hear them. If one alarm is downstairs, you might not hear it upstairs.
At school, everyone hears the fire alarm.
That's why we install hardwired smoke alarms that all go off together, just like school.
Smoke alarms done the right way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Looking for a career change? The Gelman team with eXp Realty is hiring. Their unmatched blueprint to success, real support, and proven systems help agents take their business to the next level, level up your future and your earning potential. Take the first step to see if you're a perfect fit at thegelmanteam.com.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
The Reardon Roundtable on a Friday afternoon. The mayor of Eureka, Sean Flower, is here. Also, former state senator Jeff Smith, the executive director of the Missouri Workforce Housing Association. Sean, let me start with you on the question of Iran and where we are right now. The president had a news conference yesterday, still very defiant, saying he is moving forward here. The ceasefire obviously extended. They feel like they're talking to some of the right people inside of Iran. Look, it's going to be a pretty hard sell to convince me that we're going to get any diplomacy that's acceptable out of this regime. But thoughts on where we are as we enter kind of week 9 here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting one in that this is one where everybody wants a quick answer and they want to be able to do something. And I just think the reality is it's a very, very hard problem. And I would imagine over the next month or two, we'll have a lot more clarity than we do now. But if you just look at the military end of the success, if you're trying to make Iran less of a threat, we've done that. And the secondary is what are you going to leave them like? And I think, I know as much as we want a deal or not a deal or everybody's looking at the gas or whatever, I mean, sometimes you have to play the long game with foreign policy. And I think it would do everybody. I mean, I think they need to message that. I think he's starting to talk about that, like, hey, the gas may be up, but at least you're not going to get nuked. I mean, those. I think that needs to be said a little bit more. But I don't have. I would say generally, I mean, to have that much military success with very, very low casualties and inflict that damage. I mean, I think his first phase is pretty successful.
Well, I think it is too. But look, if you don't get the enriched uranium, then I think it's a failure. All right. So they're trying to spin it right now that even if you don't get it, they've set him back. But look, I just have to be honest, and this is not going to work in my favor in a lot of situations. But if a Democrat told me last year that they obliterated Iran's nuclear program and then came back to obliterate again, I've said this a couple of times, I would criticize that, okay? I would say, wait a second, what are you doing? We're not talking about how much this is costing us. By the way, we are depleting our missile arsenal at an incredible rate. The military experts have expressed this. General Kane knows this. He's even talked, if you believe the New York Times article, which no one really pushed back on from a couple of weeks ago, General Kane warned the president about depleting the missiles in this effort. So there are people that are concerned about the overall implications, but we're in this right now, so I think you got to finish it. I just don't know how you finish it with the enriched uranium and bringing that out of the mountains or wherever the hell it is.
I agree, and I was in Washington, D.C., and in the offices of a few congressional Republicans and visited with them, and they echoed exactly what you just said.
Not publicly, though.
Not publicly.
Yeah.
But which is why I'm not saying their names.
Right.
But, members of Congress, said to me, if we don't get the enriched uranium, like, why are we even doing this? We're going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars, and to say nothing of the billions and billions of dollars that we're costing ourselves in higher gas prices and other things. And so it really kind of runs in pretty sharp juxtaposition to the promises that vaulted Trump to the presidency. He first became president in 2016, I think more than anything else, because he stood up on that stage against Jeb Bush and said, we are not going to repeat these reckless, unending foreign wars in the Middle East and get trapped into it. And then he got elected this time more than anything else because he said, I'm going to go there, and on day one, we're going to stop inflation and we're going to bring prices down. And the actions that he's taken have done pretty much the opposite of that. And so I think he's starting to feel that economic pressure. You're sensing that in kind of some of the flailing remarks he's given on this. But I think he is guilty over the last several weeks of acting in the same way that Republicans criticized Joe Biden for. When Joe Biden kind of said, oh, don't worry about inflation, it's not that bad, he's dismissing it in that same glib way.
I think it's a mistake, Jeff. I've expressed that. And look, you can say whatever you want about stopping the nukes, and that's something we've been trying to do for 47 years. I get that. This is a good thing for the world. But look, you got a lot of people that aren't listening to this show right now. They're not partisans. They're just trying to live their lives. And they see what's happening. And by the way, it's not just gas prices because everything else goes up as well. So I have to be honest about this because to me, it's baffling some of the things they're doing. Really, it is. And you're not hearing from J.D. Vance. You're not hearing from Rubio right now. Trump's going to do what he's going to do. But I'm very, very nervous about the overall implications of this. Look, I've always guided people into this film, and you can take this recommendation for what it is. And I have deep regrets. One of the reasons that I'm very concerned here is I have deep regrets about some things that happened in Gulf War II because we were wrong about a lot of stuff, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I pushed that case very hard on the radio in the early 2000s, and I have to, accept that. But in this situation, I think that we should be more cautious. And I don't know. I'm confused confused as to, some of the things that they're doing when, to your point, Jeff, this was exactly the opposite of what we were, told we were going to do. Now, if you're put into a situation where there's threats and Israel certainly feels threatened and there's nukes involved, I do think you have to do something. Did you see the 60 Minutes story from last week?
No.
Did you see it? Okay, so what was interesting, and I thought it was balanced reporting, but this was the first story of 60 Minutes where they went in and they talked to people. And by the way, they talked to people that were not against this war. They were talking to some people that thought, yeah, we need to go in harder. But they talked about the mountains where this stuff is probably hidden and the real challenges of going in there and getting it. Now, they had one person that said, look, we got special forces. They've been training for stuff like this for a long time. We could go in there. We can get this stuff if we know where it is, and we might know where it is. But then you got boots on the ground. You got lives that are in jeopardy. They're going to have to make that decision, I think, moving forward, because, again, if you don't get the HEU, you can claim that you've set them back for 10 years or 20 years, but I think that's not a victory.
Let me ask you a question, though. Say there was a good result in 60 days. Just differences, because I think part of the problem is we're just incredibly impatient, and I mean, we're talking, the thing hasn't been going on that long, and at the moment gas prices go up here, it's a political environment. Everybody, Republicans do what happens to Democrats, but I mean, we're literally talking about gas that's still cheaper than when Biden was president.
That doesn't work, though. I'm tired of hearing that.
What I'm saying is, what do you expect them to do? Under your scenario, you just shouldn't do anything.
No.
What do you do?
Under my scenario is you go in and you finish this thing, and I think that's what Trump wants to do.
But your thing is you'd say go more military now fast.
Get the HEU.
Because I couldn't understand what the policy is.
No, I think if you've done all this, I think you have to get the highly enriched uranium, because that's part of the whole mission here. And by the way, just quickly, Jeff, the one thing I was going to say is this movie that I recommend all the time. It's from 25 years ago, okay? It's by a guy, I think Eugene Jarecki is the director. It's called Why We Fight.
Oh, okay.
So it's called Why We Fight, okay? And it is framed around Dwight Eisenhower's military-industrial complex speech, of which we benefit from here in the St. Louis area. Let's be honest about that. And it's of great concern to me. Look, a year ago, one of the reasons I supported Trump is because of DOGE, because of spending. Mm-hmm. And I've never been a person that has put defense spending off the table. I know it's a constitutional responsibility, but it's also wildly out of control, unfortunately. So I'm just trying to be honest about the situation. I don't think it's working for me right now with some of the listeners because I think I'm an outlier, but I have to just be honest about where I am with this stuff.
I appreciate you being honest about it. And, to the extent, I agree with Sean that the American people kind of can be impatient and want instant gratification, but I think we have to lay that at the hands of the person who set the expectations, which is the President of the United States, who said it'll be maybe a couple weeks. It's a little excursion. When you spend your life doing that, raising expectations in every way, whether it's we're going to bring down prices on day one or we're going to be in and out in a couple weeks.
Well, some of it's the Trump hyperbole, and I think we get that.
I tell you the one
but it's
thing
wearing on people, and that's why he's in the 30s right now, because people are sick of that.
I tell you the one thing I still think will be an interesting shoe to drop that I'm always curious why it's not on the news or what, but it seems like the story of, remember initially they're like, don't come out of your house, don't revolt, don't get on the street. Like the people of Iran don't want that government, not going to go. And I still think there's a shoe to drop with that somewhat, because it's odd to me that if you really are going to have regime change or you're going to have something go on, I just don't know that the people of Iran, it'll be interesting to see if they truly don't ever come out of their houses or we continue that strategy forever.
I think they have to come out.
But I just think there's going to be, I just feel like there's, I guess more of my point is I just feel like there's more to it. That I think that's why you don't see a Rubio, why you don't see a Vance necessarily going. I just think there's more going on than we know, and I think it'll be very interesting to look back over the course of the next 45, 60 days, because stuff does have to happen. I just think there's there's just a lot of stuff in these situations.
There's a window. There's a window here for success and victory.
But I agree, success is important. You can't just fumble around. You can't have gas going forever. But it'll be, again, in 60 days, if somehow the strait has been open and you see the oil coming back down, which is always everybody's barometer of success right now, it'll be interesting because people also, they really want results fast, and they sure do forget stuff fast.
That's true, but I can't get away from the fact that the strait was open 2 months ago. So like, I know, it's the art of the deal, but I don't think the art of the deal is going and spending a couple $100 billion to get what you already had.
Hang on, we're coming back with more.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Okay, delays on 270 southbound. Pretty much St. Charles Rock Road down to 70 is heavy. Northbound side, slow around Ladue from 64. 70 on your westbound side, slow going past Jennings Station. You get a spot there. And then through the O'Fallon area into 64. 64 westbound, slow Kings Highway to Clayton. Then Lindbergh to 270. Then you get your 364 out to 70. Eastbound side from Mason to 270, filling in. And then 170 to Big Bend. 170 northbound from Airport Road up to 270. Slow going southbound approaching 64. And 44 eastbound, a little heavy approaching 64 with a crash in a lane. I'm Trent Erickson at 333 on 97.1 FM Talk.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Honey, I found the one.
Oh, I thought I was the one.
Oh, you are, but this one's certified, background check, shows up on time, and can install all the ceiling fans.
Heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing. Trusted pros who do it right.
The ACA Marketplace has announced significant increases on their monthly premiums for 2026, with deductibles over $10,000. You can enroll with Greg Hammond's Freedom of Choice plans now. You don't have to wait. One of their plans lets you use any doctor, has zero outpatient deductibles, and it's 30 to 60% lower costs than most Obamacare plans. Other options are full coverage PPOs with national networks, copays, and 100% annual preventative care. Also, there's no income disclosure required, so no potential tax penalties. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, call Greg and they'll provide all available options. Call 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to greghammonds.com. That's greghammonds.com. He can custom design a plan managed and chosen by you, not the government.
Beat the spring cleaning rush and zero res. Mark Cox here. Buy one room of carpet, get one clean for free, unlimited rooms, and whole system duct cleaning for just $5.99. Visit ZeroResSTL.com.
I'm Dr. Nick Barnes at Health From Within Family Chiropractic in Rock Hill. At Health From Within, our mission is to transform the way you manage your health by bringing you the truth about health and healing. We use proven techniques to remove interference in the nervous system and maximize health naturally, without drugs or surgery. Connect with me at healthfromwithinstl.com and join me for Maximize Living on this station every Sunday at 8 a.m. or download the Maximize Living podcast, healthfromwithinstl.com.
Warm weather means more storms, and you never know when the high winds or the hail might damage your roof. Mark Cox here from my friends at Correll Roofing Company. If you haven't had your roof inspected in the last 5 years, you need to call Curtis Correll and get that inspection to check for leaks and for damage. We've already had small hailstorms this spring, and we're not quite a year out from the big hailstorm last May. Your window may be closing to file an insurance claim connected to that. Now, here's what Curtis tells me. They are getting roofs approved for insurance claims from that 2024 storm with no problem. They're so good at what they do. The insurance companies respect and respond to them. Consider this part of your spring maintenance for your home and call Curtis today and get him out there. He did my new roof, and it looks fantastic. You're going to love working with him. They specialize in all the luxury roof shingle lines. Call 314-222-9529 or go online today to CorrellRoofingCo.com.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
336, this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
From Collinsville to Chesterfield, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, the mayor of Eureka, Sean Flower, with us. Former State Senator Jeff Smith on the Reardon Roundtable. Jeff, let me start with you on the map for Virginia. As you probably know, I didn't like the Missouri map situation, mainly because I don't like, doing it mid-decade. Right? But Virginia, I think, is a little different situation, especially with the ballot measure language, the 6-5 to a 10-1. I can't imagine this is going to be upheld by the courts, but I guess it depends
I am
what
so
judge.
excited to hear how fair this is and how it makes sense. This is awesome.
I can't wait for this,
This is going to be an amazing Jeff Smith turnaround. I don't even know.
It's not going to be an amazing Jeff Smith turnaround. It's going to be the same consistent thing that I've said from the start, which is I support and Democrats support a national initiative to ban partisan gerrymandering. I supported it 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and I support it today. I supported it a year ago. Second thing I'll say, you have a daughter, not a son. I got a son.
I have two sons. They're just
older
older.
sons. Yeah, your older sons. Yeah, sorry about that. So I don't want to be, sexist here, but I'd tell this to either one of my kids. Somebody punches you in the face at school. Do I want my kid, if I had two choices and I only had two choices, my kid was either going to punch the kid back or go to the teacher and say, he punched me. I would rather have a kid that will punch back. Okay? I'm not saying that.
I would agree with that, but yeah. I'd say yes.
You would agree? Or
yeah.
No? Okay, good. So we're on the same page there. So what happened with redistricting? Well, Republicans punched and Democrats punched right back. And for Republicans, and I saw the Missouri Republican Party applauding the judge that put a pause on this in Virginia, saying, this is a horrible, unconstitutional, mid-decade gerrymandering. What a joke that is. Trump started it. He had one reason for starting it. He doesn't want to get impeached, and he didn't want to lose the House. Democrats did it better and responded, and now Republicans are crying about it? That's pathetic.
Well, when you look at the map of Virginia, though, you've pretty much covered the entire state with blue representatives when nobody in the rural areas will have any representation whatsoever. Here, it's the opposite. Here, we had people that were in Democrat districts that had no say. So that's why we were adjusting those. Look, as you know, I don't like the mid-decade, but this is radical what they did. And did you read the ballot language to make it more fair? Are you kidding me?
I did that. And
do you think a judge? Do you think this holds though?
Well, I think the fact that in the Republican states like Texas and Missouri, they just did it. Whereas in California and Virginia, they sent it to voters to get it approved. And it's really, courts tend to be pretty reluctant to go against when they get.
Hasn't it already been? It's already been. Judge has already stopped it, hasn't it?
Well, temporarily one judge.
It's getting appealed by the Virginia Attorney General. So we'll see, and we'll see if the Virginia Supreme Court, because the voters voted for it. That's oftentimes a factor that judges are apprehensive about going against.
Yeah, it's such a bad. I mean, it makes Texas and Missouri look like just like ping pong. And I mean, to go out there and take a 6-5 state, make it 10-1, and you get what do they keep saying? They got 5. You could have 5 different legislatures live within 5 minutes of each other in Arlington. I mean, it's and this is the part I do think is missing. It's fine to say you want to fight and punch back, but the people, the reps and the politicians in Virginia just completely screwed over local Virginia people for national politics. And Spanberger ran saying she wasn't going to do it. It lies. It's a really disgusting example. And it's so far down the line.
This is what they do, Sean.
But it's so far down the line. I do think probably there's a line between punching and not getting caught and punching and getting caught. And I think they might have punched somebody in front of the teacher because it's just so bad. I wouldn't be. This one really looks like it could get teed up.
One thing though that Sean Spicer was on a couple of nights ago, and he was critical of even the Trump administration, certainly Glenn Youngkin, for not getting more involved in that ballot issue. In fact, maybe until too late. I think Youngkin did in the
Youngkin
closing
spent
weeks.
quite a bit, and I mean, but it's weird to have. I mean, Trump. There's so much of Virginia that hates Trump. I think he's always got to make.
Well, staying out might have been a better move. I don't know, but it was interesting. We'll see what the courts do on that. But look, isn't it going to kind of be?
Republicans shouldn't have started it in the first place.
Isn't it kind of going to be a wash if you look at what Florida?
They shouldn't have started it. I mean, we got like states like Illinois.
No. Illinois did not do a mid-decade. Illinois did not do a mid-decade redistricting.
The timing of when you do it is more important than what it looks like.
Well, they gerrymandered on time.
The timing is important because what the country has always done is when there's a census every 10 years, then you draw new districts. So
that's not what you guys are
Trump
saying.
started it. Trump started it in the middle of the cycle, in the middle of the decade, and now he's paying the price.
But I truly think to me that's not the argument, because you guys are saying everybody acts like it's the mid-decade use of it. I think what it's been is traditionally Republicans have not been as aggressive as Democrats on gerrymandering, and like I said, Illinois is a great example. You look at it, the whole place is cut up like a puzzle, and that's the problem. Is if you want to say if the argument is who started it. I mean, there are a lot more of those states that look like that than red states.
That's just not true. If you look at Tennessee's districts, the way they're drawn. If you look at Florida's, the way they're drawn. You look at Georgia's, the way they're drawn. You look at North Carolina. This is what I wrote my master's thesis on, was partisan redistricting and all this stuff. Both parties do it, and in fact, there was kind of a weird alliance between Black Democrats and Republicans throughout southern states after the 1990 census, because Black Democrats wanted majority Black districts that they could win, and Republicans understood that if they put as many Black voters as possible into a small number of districts, then they could dominate all the other districts, and that helped lead to the 1994 takeover of Congress. after that kind of unusual alliance. So it's something that both parties have done. And now, Republicans, a lot of crocodile tears after what's happened. But Trump started it a year ago, and now he's paying the price.
I want to make Republicans feel a little bit better how Democrats might rule, for example, in Virginia or elsewhere. This is a Vermont Senator, Lamont Bagby, and here's what he says. So check this out here.
And listen, I almost took issue with the other side saying that we don't understand. But I grew up watching the Waltons. I grew up with Opie.
He's talking about rural voters, that Democrats don't understand rural voters.
I even watched the Dukes of Hazzard. I think I know a little bit about rural America.
He does, doesn't he? I mean, that is awesome.
That's how I won
watched
the Eureka election. I just watched a lot of Dukes of Hazzard, and it all worked out.
Isn't that great? You do not have your Daisy Dukes on Today Show on Flower Thing, but I cannot believe that guy, I thought that was fake when I saw it. It was not fake. It's real. He says he understands rural voters because he watched the Waltons, maybe Little House on the Prairie, and the Dukes of Hazzard, Jeff Smith. How about that? That's one of your team members. You got to like it. We're coming back with more.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
44, you've got some problems on the eastbound side, heavy approaching 64. We've got a crash working there. 170 northbound, slow past Airport Road to 270 southbound side. From Forest Park Parkway down to 64. On 64, westbound, your typical stuff through Kings Highway to Big Bend, Lindbergh to 270. And then a 364 over to 70, eastbound side from Mason to 270 on the brakes. And then 170 to Big Bend. 70 westbound, some pockets past Jennings Station, another one around 270. And then into the O'Fallon area to 64. And 270 southbound, heavy St. Charles Rock Road to 70. Northbound side slows just a bit from Manchester to 64 where they're clearing a crash. I'm Trent Erickson at 344 on 97.1 FM Talk.
Let's show our appreciation for local heroes. Mark Cox here. Nominate a first responder and their department could get lunch from Grill Master Tony's. I'll personally deliver it. Share their story at 971talk.com. Nominate them today. Hey, it's Mark Cox. Take your lawn from good to great with my friends at Lawn Enforcement. I'm talking expert lawn care services to keep your lawn in order. And here's what they'll do for you. Anybody can mow your grass. At Lawn Enforcement, they want to enhance your property. They'll do the mowing and the trimming. They'll fertilize and implement a weed control program and erosion control, which includes retaining walls if you need it. They can landscape. They can design and install your flowers, your shrubs, your trees, all of your hardscapes. No project is too big or too small for my friends at Lawn Enforcement. You can check them out online at yourlawnenforcement.com. So instead of envying your neighbor's lawn, your neighbors are going to be wishing they had the lawn and landscape that you have. Go ahead and enjoy your space. Be proud when you entertain your friends and your family. They've been in business for over 30 years. Be sure and tell them Mark Cox sent you. Go to yourlawnenforcement.com.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
It's time for you to get to know my friends at Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield, where luxury meets comfort. Mark Cox here. They have a great selection of rare bourbons, whiskeys, craft cocktails, anything you like to drink, cold beer, premium hand-rolled cigars from the finest makers in the world, even private lockers that are available if you choose to. Perfect for date nights or business meetings, and live music every Friday night. Family owned and operated. Check them out in Chesterfield at the District. It's litstl.com.
Don't let tax refund worries hold you back. File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, so Reardon Roundtable, one more segment to go. The mayor of Eureka, Sean Flower, is here. Also, Florida State Senator Jeff Smith, as we wrap up a couple of topics. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this is, I don't know if I want to give this guy A for effort or something like that, but did you hear about the sergeant who was involved in the operation to oust Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela?
The Poly
and what he
Markets?
did? Have you heard about this, Smith?
No.
Okay, this is unbelievable, and they caught this guy. So this is a special forces soldier who helped capture Maduro. He made some bets on the poly market. He is Master Sergeant Gannon Ken Van Dyke, stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. He made more than $400,000 by betting on different outcomes related to Venezuela. The indictment was filed yesterday. It says that Van Dyke was involved in planning and execution of the seizure of Mr. Maduro, was making bets up till January 2nd, the day before the seizure. He bet on events related to Maduro and Venezuela 13 times, including bets on the timing and the outcome of the operation to remove Maduro. So he got caught. I'm
shocked that he was caught.
I am a little shocked, too.
Specific bets, was it like helicopters versus truck capture, or how specific was he, you wonder? The odds are going up. I mean, you could bet on anything. That's insane.
Here's what they say.
I love the confidence in the military.
They'll never get it. Yeah.
In the hours before they captured Maduro, it was reported that somebody on Polymarket placed a $32,000 bet that Mr. Maduro would be out of power by the end of January and profited by more than $400,000. The Polymarket statement and the amounts specified in the indictment suggest the charges announced are related to that bet. So it was a $32,000. He did make other bets, but that one he cashed out on $400,000. So he's charged with unlawful use of confidential government information for personal gain, theft of non-public government information, commodities fraud, wire fraud, 5 counts of felony counts altogether. So I don't think he's going to end up doing very well with his military career. I think that's over right now, but that is a crazy story.
I just hope that there's as much investigation into Donald Trump Jr.'s trading activities and those of other close associates to the White House, because there have been tens of millions of dollars of trades that have happened.
I'm sorry, you're talking about Ilhan Omar?
I thought, didn't her winery disappear off the
in the 30 minutes? In the 30 minutes before Trump has made major announcements, there have been tens of millions of dollars spent of bet
That's
on.
because the market's
on oil
reacting
prices.
well to what he's saying.
I mean, she literally lost.
Why are people betting 30 minutes before his announcement, making $10-20 million bets on things, and they've identified like a couple traders that have done this consistently?
They're just smart brokers, Jeff.
Okay.
Was Pelosi advising him?
Look, I don't think I wish that Trump's White House would have not tried to go after Josh Hawley when Josh Hawley was doing something good, trying to ban all congressional stock trading. You think you should be able to have congressional stock trading? I don't think you should.
I don't think you should either.
And I don't
I'm with Senator Hawley on that.
And I don't think people in the White House should either. And yet the White House went after him for including administration staff in that ban. Congress should get serious about that, pass that, and Trump should sign it.
I'm so glad that Jeff Smith is here today, Sean, because I knew that we would not be able to book him for next Friday's show. Next Friday is May Day. Corey Bush is bringing Hassan Piker in. I think you might be a moderator. Are you a moderator of that event, Smith? Because I figure you're all in on that, right?
I'm for Congressman Bell.
You know,
I didn't know if you were going to say Trump.
I know you are,
but
like,
Trump
does she have, seriously, in your bias here, but does she have a shot?
I think she does have a shot because, the country has moved dramatically to the left. Not just Democrats, but both parties have moved away from Israel over the last couple of years. I think the stuff that Piker says is an abomination. And I think it's disgraceful when you excuse what happened on October 7th in Israel by saying, well, Israel's done horrible things. That doesn't mean that those kids at that concert deserve to be massacred. And so I think I'm glad to see a lot of Democrats, distance themselves from that kind of rhetoric. But I do think that she is smart to kind of take an issue that's gone in her direction over the last year and a half.
As crazy as it is politically, it's probably a good move for her and where she is. But he is a nutbag. I mean, I almost want her back, Sean, just because of the entertainment factor.
It was kind of fun. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
And Wesley's not really. I mean, look, how differently would they vote on most issues? I will give him credit because he's worked with Ann, he's worked with Congressman Onder to do some things for the region, but he's voting the same way that she would 95% of the time.
Yeah, but I mean, on a couple key votes, remember, like the infrastructure bill, she wouldn't vote with the whole Democratic Party on that. Yeah, and that has real costs for a state. When you're trying to bring stuff home from Washington, D.C.
No, she's repulsive. But again, entertainment factor.
It's just amazing that Hassan Piker, I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, we're all terrorists. I mean, it's an amazing. Yeah. But no, more power to her.
All right, one more topic here. Let's. Well, I want to talk about. Did you guys get into the Mike Vrabel, Diana Rossini story at all?
Totally
Do you know
into
about
it.
that? I am too.
It's totally.
And, all right, so do you know the basics here? So they were caught, on camera at this little junket, and the pictures get out. Diana Rossini is under investigation for The Athletic, where she's an NFL reporter. Mike Vrabel, the head coach of the Patriots, she, before they fire her, quits very defiantly. Never really apologizes for behavior. Page 6 is the one that broke the story. Well, they've been breaking a lot this week because now, and it looks like a PI was involved 5 or 6 years ago that had some pictures of Vrabel and Rossini 6 years ago in some very, compromising positions. Now, it looks like she deleted her social media. She's done. I mean, her career is over, right?
You can't do that as a journalist, just like Olivia Nuzzi.
Well, the New York Times reporter you're talking about?
No, New York Magazine.
New York Magazine,
that was having the emotional affair for a year with Bobby Kennedy.
Yes, I forgot her name, but let's talk about this real quick here. He probably doesn't suffer consequences, does he? He's gone off to counseling. He's probably not going to lose his job. By the way, especially when Bob Kraft is your boss. I mean, he's going down to get hand jobs at the mini mall. You can't. How can you fire Vrabel if you're Bob Kraft?
No, it doesn't look like he's going anywhere. They keep talking about it like he's he had like a minor emotional outburst or something like that. I'm gonna get my counseling. I'm gonna do my other stuff. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah,
and and you think of these families. I mean, too. I think they both married,
they
both
do.
have kids.
It's really a bad situation.
Yeah, it's an insane.
Isn't it unbelievable the number of people that will like go and deny something completely when there's like, when they've been doing it for years. Yeah. And they just got to believe that they got to hope that nobody ever can uncover all this stuff.
The
it's
confidence,
like Swalwell too.
Yeah, the confidence it's unreal. That nobody's ever going to see it. Oh, I'm sure there's no pictures of us for the last 6 years out there.
And not to bring it back to politics, but I mean, there's a lot of coaches and there's a lot of politicians that have been involved in stuff like this. But you just got to think, if you're like a Swalwell, I've got a decent perch. I'm a congressperson. Why pop my head up and run for governor?
Dude, look
when you know you're going to get all that scrutiny.
The classic Hall of Fame example is Anthony Weiner.
Oh yeah,
especially because of his name. But I mean, that documentary that they did, I actually felt bad for his wife because he was such a piece of human debris. It was unbelievable.
You feeling bad for a Hillary Clinton staffer?
I know, because she was chief of staff, right? For Hillary. That's right. I forgot her name. What was her name?
Huma.
That's right.
Still together though, aren't they? I thought they just had a picture of them together. She's with Soros now. She's moved on up.
Yeah, she's.
It actually worked out great for her.
Yeah, it did, actually. Sean Flower, great to see you. Thank you very much for coming in. We changed microphones on Sean today. It sounded great, by the way.
Fantastic.
Man, you're going to rock this out from now on. Jeff Smith, good to see you. I really am pissed that I had to agree with you a little bit today.
I felt
these things happen. Were you tag teamed on a little bit? Sorry about that. I wonder where Jane would have been on some of this stuff. If Jane was here, I'd be very curious. I would.
I'm just happy my girlfriend's usually like, why do you waste your time going on with that fucking guy? Excuse me.
Oh, no, you haven't made me dump. Now I had to dump.
You made it almost through the show.
And now today she texts me and I quote,
"Keep it clean.
I'm so with Mark today."
Yeah, Mark, who just lost his job because you cussed on my show. I hope I hit the dump button. See you guys.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Things are a little slow going. 270 northbound, Manchester to 64. That was from an earlier crash that's gone. And 70 westbound, slow past Jennings Station or through that area, then through O'Fallon to 64. 64 westbound, Kings Highway to Big Bend. Your typical Lindbergh to 270, then 364. Just before 364, now at to 70. And eastbound side, Mason to 270, slows down. 170 to Big Bend. 170 northbound on the brakes from Airport Road up to 270. Southbound Delmar now down to 64. And 44 eastbound, just a little slow approaching 64. From an earlier crash that's clearing as well. I'm Trent Erickson at 3:56 on 97.1 FM Talk.
Let's talk about Morelli Tuck Pointing. I heard from John Morelli yesterday. It was great to hear from him. He and his company have been really, really doing great work here in St. Louis for decades. Family owned and operated. And they'd love to have you over either at the website or just to give them a call for a free estimate on your project. Sometimes I tell the story about my sister who had called me at one point and said, hey, did you know a tuck pointer? Because she had a home that she purchased for my niece to live in when she went to SLU, and there was an entire wall that was collapsing. So yes, I do. I sent them the Morelli Tuck Pointing. Not all of the projects they do are that big, but if you go online to MorelliTuckPointing.com, you can see some of the favorite projects that they've completed in the St. Louis area in the gallery tab. So you go up to the website at MorelliTuckPointing.com. You'll see some tabs. Press on the gallery, and you'll see, I like to call it the little swipey thing because you can take your finger and kind of move it across the page and see the before and after and how great some of the work looks. Again, family run, owned and operated. They take great care of you. Amazing reviews when it comes to customer service. They're very proud of that. 314-645-1387, MorelliTuckPointing.com.
When it comes to planning your retirement, there's a lot to think about. Portfolio management, tax planning, and retirement income just to get started. Steve All and his team at the All Financial Group focus on those things and more. Their goal is to help you achieve your goals. Call 636-230-8824 or online, yourmoneymattersstl.com.
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IBW, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Steve All, NPN number 153-07419.
Before you trust someone with your money, make sure they're properly registered and qualified to give investment advice. Before you invest, get the facts. I'm Denny Hoskins, Missouri Secretary of State. Our office regulates investing and works to protect investors. Call the Missouri Securities Hotline at 800-721-7996 or visit MissouriProtectsInvestors.com. Paid for by the Missouri Investor Education and Protection Fund. This is a public service announcement.
Unexpected pregnancies can feel overwhelming, but you're not alone. At Vitality Women's Clinic in Godfrey, caring professionals provide free and confidential services for women and families. From pregnancy testing, ultrasounds, and options education to STD testing and ongoing support, Vitality is here to walk alongside you every step of the way. If you or someone you know needs help, hope, or simply someone to talk to, we're here. Visit VitalityWomen'sClinic.com to learn more or schedule a confidential appointment. Vitality Women's Clinic, supporting women, strengthening families, and bringing hope to our community.
When you're learning something new, experience matters. At Lifestyles Unlimited, we've spent over 30 years teaching people how real estate investing works and how to build income with a clear, step-by-step strategy. Our program is designed to help you learn what to do, why it works, and how to take action at your own pace. Join today for just $297, a 60% savings off the regular price. Text radio to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
There are those who dedicate themselves to a sense of honor, to a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves. They have always defended this nation and each other. They still do. The few, the proud, the Marines.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
Another chance for peace. I'm Carmen Roberts, Fox News. Iran's top diplomat, Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, traveled to Pakistan today for what could be a second round of peace talks, even though Iran state media say talks are not on the table. Still, the U.S. is sending a delegation.
Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be off to Pakistan again tomorrow morning to engage in talks.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt on Fox News. Now, the U.S. is keeping up pressure with a third aircraft carrier.
It's the first time since the Iraq War in 2003 the Navy has had so many. Back then there were 5. First airstrikes against ISIS were launched from Bush back in 2014. War Secretary Pete Hegseth says the additional firepower will help enforce the blockade, which has turned away 34 ships, mostly oil tankers, according to Central Command, and also help President Trump carry out his orders to destroy any Iranian boats laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson. Investigators find the body of one of 2 missing University of South Florida students and arrest a roommate. The discovery comes after an all-out search for the students who disappeared a week ago.
When I tell you I had hundreds of detectives and deputies and assets looking for Nahida and Zamil, that is the truth.
Deputy Chief Joseph Maurer with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office says they found the body of Zamil Limon today on the Howard Franklin Bridge. Hisham Abu Garbia is jailed on multiple charges as the search continues for Limon's girlfriend, Nahida Bristi. Wildfires burning out of control in South Florida and South Georgia and North Florida claimed the life of a volunteer firefighter in Florida who suffered a medical emergency. And Governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, toured the devastation and told reporters,
"We believe that these 2 fires have created the most lost homes ever in the history of our state."
America's listening to Fox News.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Here's a tale of Tina searching up and down for decent GLP-1s, but got spun around.
Tell Good RX Rodin, hey, we got something new. GLP-1 prescriptions, all FDA approved.
Brand name meds, no flags that are red.
Clear pricing from the start. None of those hidden fees in your cart.
Delivered to your door or pick up same day. Darn tootin'.
Save time and money on prescriptions.
I'd put it to goodrx.com/weight loss. GoodRx is not insurance.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
The unsettled weather is gone. We've got a pretty nice weekend on the way. Partly cloudy skies tonight, evening temperatures not too bad. 54 for the overnight low on Saturday. Plenty of sunshine. Let's call it nice. Beautiful day Saturday, 76 degrees. Saturday night, partly cloudy, 54. Sunday, partly sunny, windy, especially in the afternoon, and 75. Showers and thunderstorms developing late Sunday night and into Monday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, I think I dumped the bad word effectively. Some people are saying, like, if you listen on the app or if you listen through X, formerly Twitter. Fred's looking at me like, what happened?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't even know what happened, huh?
No.
Mr. Smith dropped an F-bomb. He was quoting his girlfriend, so I guess we could blame her. But I dumped relatively quick. Ethan, did I dump fast? That's like the second time in a week I've had to dump. I had a guest drop an F-bomb a couple of weeks ago, right?
It was Jimmy Fallon.
It was Jimmy Fallon. That's right. It was Jimmy Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon. That deserves a bell ring.
Oh, man.
I have not checked if it made air or not, but you listen, I think because of the recency of how recent you had to bump it, I think that your reflexes are getting quick because you were on it really quick.
Dude,
I watched.
Yeah,
he was on it. You were on it.
Here's what you have to understand. I'm going to give you a little Mark Reardon broadcast history here, okay?
Oh, boy.
And we're gonna delve into the HR folder just momentarily because, and Fred, you know this story. So we used to, and I really enjoyed doing these things when I was on KMOX, and I've been here now for 5 years. There was a point where when we lost the Blues, okay, this happened when we lost the Blues to FM station, there was more programming to fill, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our boss, in his infinite wisdom, said, can we come up with a way to squeeze more work out of the people that work for us and not pay them any more money? How would we do that, right? So Steve comes up with this thing, KMOX Profiles, right? And actually, I loved it. It was really cool because what we were able to do, I hope he's not listening right now because then I have to give him credit for something, but it was a long-form interview that we would do with different people. It's not completely unlike what Sue does with her podcast, right? But I remember having a little bit more freedom and flexibility to have longer conversations instead of like a 10-minute, 12-minute chat on the radio. We would go
for
do
like 4 8-minute segments,
45 minutes or whatever. Yeah, whatever that ended up being around that time. And it was really, they were good. So one day I was rushing through one in the sports studio, and I can't remember who the author was, but it was a book author, former military, and we were talking about stuff. And I did my intro, and I screwed my intro up. To the segment. It was like the third segment of the interview. So I would, we were recording it, so I'd stop. And I said something that I shouldn't have said when I restarted it. And it ended up not being caught by someone who was putting the show together. It's not their fault. It's my fault, right? Because I should have made sure that didn't happen. Well, that aired not once, but twice over the weekend.
Oh,
like this is what was confusing because I get a call or text from a producer, and I'm horrified, right? But then to make it worse, I think it happened a second time. So I believe I was called into the to the boss's office on that one because they wanted to document it, so I had to sign things. And so, like, I don't want to mess around with the F-bomb, guys, because I have a history here. So I get that dump button as soon as I can because I didn't have a chance that weekend.
For someone that doesn't want to mess around with it, you certainly do say it off air a lot.
Well, of course. It's just like being around your parents, though. You don't say that stuff, when your mom and dad are around, right? But I'm fond of profanity, and I'm pretty skillful at using it, Ethan. I think you would have to admit.
Oh, you are.
Thank you.
It's a gift.
Thank you.
I want to take a look inside your HR file. It's got to be big.
I'm scared.
Thanks, Fred. Thanks for your support.
My
really.
fear is that once you get in, it's impossible to find a way out.
Well, so we lost our it sounds like she died. She didn't die, but Becky Damian, who was our vice president general manager, just left the company a couple of weeks ago, and she was really important in 97.1. She really was, but she was the person that I'd have to, go to, unfortunately, in moments like that. But when I sent her a text the day that she made the announcement, and I said, hey, can you take my HR file with you by any chance? That did not happen, unfortunately. But yeah, I want to be careful with profanity for sure. Okay, I like this audio. Now, this is usually the kind of stuff I see when I'm at home at night because I've told you my wife loves Fox all of a sudden. This is only like a year and a half into this. It was the election in 24 that really kind of turned her around, and she watches like the nighttime shows. Well, I'm monitoring, and Fred and I are monitoring all day, and then when it gets to the 5, we're on the air, and then Gutfeld and all that stuff. Well, Becky loves Gutfeld, and she loves Jesse and all this stuff. So Jessica Tarlov, I think this was on the 5 though when this happened,
yes.
Right? So this was yesterday, and when Jessica Tarlov, who is the I remember when I didn't know who she was, and I thought she was a complete idiot, and someone's like, yeah, she's kind of like the token, Harold Ford is another one. CNN does it with Jennings, I suppose you can say, right? In a different direction. But she has to take the left-wing position. She's not a complete nut job, usually, I don't think. But Gutfeld and her got into it. And I would also like to say this, because I know that this happens here on this show. It often happens with the Roundtable. I believe that two people can get into a very passionate, heated discussion and then still when the mics go off say, we're all cool. So I hope that kind of happened here. But they were not happy with one another.
And it's
what
exposed.
Hate crime hoax?
The liberal goes, Justice Smollett, anyone?
No, I didn't
how about
say
the banana peel on the bench?
Yeah. So they're arguing about this Southern Poverty Law Center story and whether or not, there's an indictment that comes down and says that this organization paid a lot of people to infiltrate and actually, paid people in hate groups to foment the hate, which is the exact opposite of what they were supposed to do. They claim they were just putting people inside so they could protect themselves. But the indictment is very damning, and that's what they were talking about here.
How about the
Walmart
noose
shooter
at the racetrack?
is a banana peel. What hoax have you actually seen here? You don't think that hundreds of people showed up at the Unite the Right rally that weren't this informant, that weren't persuaded by his vehicle that got them there?
Who was the informant?
What?
You don't know. Was it the leader? An informant is not a leader.
Do you think
it's also?
Do you think there are white supremacists there? That it's not real?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Are you
All I know is I never heard of it until the day that it happened.
So that's Charlottesville that they're talking about, right? And that's the very fine people quote, which is a hoax. It's just ridiculous. It was always taken out of context. I've called people out for it even on the Roundtable because it's a lie. It always has been a lie. It's one of those things that really pissed me off about the media. And the left repeats it to this day, even with all this coming out. So they're arguing about that.
This is like when somebody says, on average, men are taller and way more than women. And then one woman goes, but what about her? And they point to a WNBA player. Yes, Jessica, I'll give you. There probably is a bigot somewhere. But you guys created a false flag that there was this immense movement going on in this country that then put targets on people like Charlie Kirk's back, and he's dead. And a lot of other people were either threatened, physically attacked because of a false flag, which painted an entire, basically, millions of people as white supremacists. You guys ran with it.
Yeah, see, I don't think Greg's wrong on that. And that's why he's so angry and positive. She's trying to make the case, this is just one person, that didn't really draw the white supremacists. But, when you start to look at the goods that were brought in this indictment, and by the way, I said this yesterday, I do think that legally this is going to be a bit of a challenge for the administration. If you look at the breakdown of what they have to prove, it's not a, done deal by any stretch of the imagination. But if what was in the indictment is true, and by the way, it's a grand jury, all right, that listened to the evidence and they said, yes, we want to move forward. One more cut here.
We don't have to defend our racists because we don't know who they are because you create them. Meanwhile, we don't have to make up your racists because you're standing there with Hassan Piker. These guys are right there in our face.
Speaking of Hassan Piker, I mentioned Hassan Piker in the last hour because Cori Bush is having a big May Day rally 1 week from today. Hassan Piker is coming in, and this is the guy that she's bringing in. We agreed that politically, for Fred, for her being a nut job, it's probably a smart move because that's what he is. He's a dangerous nut job. I'll say that too.
America deserved 9/11, dude. I'm saying it.
I don't have any sort of patriotism in my heart for America, but just in general.
It doesn't matter if rapes happen on October 7th. Like, that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much.
He is disgusting, amongst the worst. But think about where we are with politics, that somebody who is a member of Congress, who wants to be a member of Congress again, believes that one of the best political moves she can make with her base is bringing in someone like that that's so revolting, that thinks that 9/11 we deserved, that, has this conversation here with this New Yorker writer about micro-looting. That's become a thing now, too. So it's okay to steal if you're just stealing a little bit because the big corporations got it coming.
I did steal from Whole Foods on several occasions, like... I've been involved in like a neighborhood mutual aid group since 2021. And so every week I would go get groceries for Miss Nancy, my now family friend who lived nearby, and she wanted to go to Whole Foods. She wanted food from Whole Foods. So I was like, okay, great. And so I'd be getting Miss Nancy all her groceries, and then I would finish and I'd be like, oh my God, 4 lemons. I forgot 4 lemons. And on several occasions I was like, I'm just going to go back, grab those 4 lemons and get the hell out. Yeah, it already felt like a bit of a compromise. Like at the time, I was like, I had not been to Whole Foods. I had a bit more sort of consumer discipline about where I was spending my money then, and I already felt like I was in the hole even by shopping there. I certainly felt it in a utilitarian sense. I was like, this is not a big deal.
Well,
right, guys?
There's Hassan.
I'm pro stealing from big corporations because they steal quite a bit more from their own workers.
So you have a woman who self-admitted that she shouldn't probably be shopping at Whole Foods because of the prices, but because she decided to micro-loot and just take a few things because they got it coming to them. And, that's Cori Bush's position. That's, a lot of people on the Board of Aldermen's position here in the city of St. Louis, the communists and the socialists. So it's outrageous. That's the entire, government of New York City at this point. So it's not just alienated or isolated to some people. It's frightening. And there are young people that buy into this. And, I've talked about this even in terms of the Walmart that I go to, Fred, because, what I'm seeing is in some of the locations, they are putting more checkout people in. And I think it's because people are walking out with too much stuff and they're trying to crack down on that. Anyway, we have Ethan's news for this Friday. Paul Hall's coming up. He's seen the Michael Jackson movie. It's a little controversial because, they don't go into the negative stuff about Michael. We'll see what Paul thought about that. Frank Cusumano a little bit later. Ethan, that was a pretty big deal last night when Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame running back from St. Louis, gets picked as the 3rd overall pick. The top, that's the highest pick that anyone from St. Louis has ever received in the NFL draft, right? I think that's what we heard.
That's pretty exciting, and also you don't see running backs get drafted that high. I think the 3rd running back to be drafted that high in the last 15 years.
Yeah, they've gotten kind of away from that. Yeah. But and then the Rams we'll talk about this with Frank, but the Rams pick a quarterback, right? At 15, that was a little bit of a shocker. So for those people,
guy's team that's done that a couple times, it's worked out for them.
Well, but really, but for this situation. Here's the dynamic that I saw. Les Snead, who was the guy here, who Frank hates, by the way, a lot of people hate because he was a liar when he was here in St. Louis. He's doing the news conference last night. Did you see this, Fred?
No.
And Sean Payton Sean McVay, the Rams coach, is right next to him, looking very uncomfortable. Like his arms are kind of, the body language was like, yeah, this wasn't my decision. He apparently had to call Matt Stafford, during the day. At least they told him. Who was it was it Drew Brees or somebody else? Or was it Rodgers? It was Aaron Rodgers, right?
Rodgers.
They didn't tell him, and he was a little blindsided, and he can be a big baby anyway.
They didn't,
so that
same
didn't turn
with
out
Kirk
well.
Cousins. They didn't tell Kirk Cousins about
That's right.
Michael Penix.
See, why wouldn't you have maybe it was a brilliant move on the part of the Rams. I don't know, but you would think you'd want to have your head coach involved as well. Ethan's news is coming up next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Not too bad out there. We've got 270, some slight delays northbound from Manchester to 64, 70 westbound, 367 over to Jennings Station, a little slow then spots through O'Fallon to 64. Westbound on 64 through Kings Highway to about Big Bend is tight, 364 to 70. Eastbound side from 170 to Big Bend is filling in, and 170 on the southbound side only from Delmar down to 64. This report is sponsored by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, Lakeside Renovation and Design has been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out, from windows and siding to kitchens, bathrooms, and outdoor spaces. They deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Trent Erickson at 416 on 97.1 FM Talk.
We had Alex Rosenberger on last week talking a little car talk. He's at Master Cars Inc. in Granite City. They're a great used car dealership with new car caliber. And I'm the kind of person that takes really good care of my car. So I know that when I am ready to get into my next vehicle, I could go to Master Cars Inc. and say, hey, let's trade this in, because they can do that the same way that a regular car dealership can. Maybe you're just interested in having them buy a vehicle. So we had a beautiful Jeep Grand Cherokee from many years ago. Wrangler, I'm sorry. We had Grand Cherokees as well, but we had a cool Wrangler, and my kids had gone off to college. We weren't using it very much. It was worth a fair amount of money. We sold it to MasterCars. They gave us a great price. I still miss that vehicle, but we got a great price from MasterCars Inc. If you're looking for cool collectible cars, they specialize in those. They have some really, really interesting things on the lot right now, but they can also source a car for you. You just go to Alex and Gary, say, I'm looking for this particular vehicle, a Toyota Camry, if you will, black interior with these features. They'll find it for you, get it here to St. Louis, get you financed, everything runs smoothly, and you'll never go back to buying a car a different way again. I'm pretty confident of that. Master Cars Inc., they're in Granite City. Go on the website today, mastercarsinc.com.
I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Every time one of my children started driving, it was terrifying. I am quite aware of the dangers being on the road. Thousands of accidents happen across the country. We see it every day. These families' lives will be changed in an instant. We fight for these families as if they were our own. We've become America's largest injury law firm by winning cases just like these. If you've been injured in a car accident, call us.
Injured? Dial #law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Your garage door is always there for you, rain or shine. Are you taking your garage door for granted? Is it screeching and whining for attention? Trust Overhead Door Company of St. Louis to keep your garage door reliable. Maybe the old weather stripping needs replaced to keep out the cold and hot air. Call Overhead Door Company of St. Louis, trusted here since 1926. For same-day service, call 314-781-5200 and schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
I'm Mark Solinger, producer and one of the hosts of the Moth podcast. For nearly 2 decades, The Moth has brought live storytelling to stages around the world and to millions of listeners. These are real people telling true stories from their lives. Stories about a lost family recipe, about working to free a wrongfully convicted man, about realizing you need to leave your May-December romance. Stories that will move you, surprise you, make you laugh. Stories you can't forget. Join us. Follow and listen to The Moth wherever you get your podcasts.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
Paul Hall is coming up on some entertainment recommendations and maybe some things that we don't want you to watch. That's coming up at 4:32. Frank Cusumano at 4:45. Right now, though, Sue is out for a few days. She's digging diamonds down in Arkansas. We wish her well. We do hope that she comes back, though. Well, let's do this here on a Friday afternoon.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Just to be clear, if we're hoping she comes back, does that mean that we don't, or we hope she doesn't find any diamonds?
Yes.
Or are we hoping there's like a certain number like we're living in?
I think in the perfect world, she'd find a lot of diamonds and share with us.
Yes.
So that we can.
I think we're kind
all
of safe that it's not going to be
retire.
like a retirement diamond. But look, if she strikes it rich, would you come back? I love the people that win the lottery. Oh, I'm going to go to work. Stop it. No, you're not.
What I mean, otherwise, though, you kind of are running the risk of just blowing it all. If you're just at home all day, what are you going to do besides spend money?
Well, it doesn't mean you can't work or do something productive, but do you think if I won like a couple of $1 million that I'd be sitting here with you every day? No,
Oh,
not
God,
to
no.
personal, but
No, it's fine.
You'd be going to every concert you could.
Exactly. You know, this whole like the retirement thing, I don't know what I'd do. I would figure it out, dude. I would be able to figure it out. I have no doubt.
It's a pretty high percentage of people that run out of all their money when they win the lottery because usually they don't know how to spend their money.
No, look, you're not wrong about that. And there was a
Same
family
thing with athletes.
Yeah.
Well, young athletes,
Yep.
too. Some of this NIL stuff. But look, there was a family, and Fred, if I played you the clips of this, you probably remember. It was a Wisconsin family. They lived in southern Wisconsin. They won the Powerball. And they were like the Beverly Hillbillies, and it was so crazily entertaining, but also kind of tragically sad at the same time because of the way that they handled it and blew through the money and stuff. So you're not wrong about that.
Happy National Pigs in a Blanket Day. I got two bells over here. Did you hear the different tones in them? I was going every other. You guys pigs in a blanket?
I am.
Oh,
yeah. Like quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. It's been a
Seems
long
to be
time since I've had one.
Relegated to like a Super Bowl party or something like that, but yes, I'm a fan.
Yeah, sports get together.
Now I have to have a little ketchup on my pigs in blanket.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, no, I do too.
Thank you. What?
All right, maybe I'm in the minority. I don't know. I guess so. Okay. It's also National Bucket List Day. Are you I need to know. Have you guys checked off the top thing on your bucket list? Are you still trying to achieve that? And if so, what is it?
That's a good question. I do have a couple of bucket list things that I've never done. One is to go to Saratoga Racetrack and also the Baseball Hall of Fame like at the same time because they're not too far from one another, but a trip to New York to do. But I've never done the Baseball Hall of Fame. So that and Saratoga would be on the bucket list. I'm trying to think if I have anything else that would be, that would just stick out
have
to
you met Bruce Springsteen?
I have.
I'm sure that was at one point on your bucket list.
Yeah, but that was 35 years ago.
Yeah, but still.
Now it's not on my bucket list.
Well, sure, but it was at one point you were able to check it, off something that would have been on.
I could come up with a few things that would probably be on the list, but that would the one that sticks out is the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Fred?
I did the Baseball Hall of Fame, and that was great. That would be on my bucket list.
Okay.
So I've done that. Meeting Barry Manilow, that was kind of cool for me.
Oh, cool.
Decades ago.
That's a good one. Okay, well.
How about you, Ethan? You're a young man. You must have a full bucket list.
I would say going to a World Series game is certainly on there. Going to all 30.
So you've never done that because you're too young?
Yeah. I mean, they were 13 the last time that I was there, but I mean, it was too expensive.
Got some bad news for you, Ethan.
Yeah, it might be a few more years. I know. And then going to all 30 ballparks. So
that's what?
That's a good one.
I would like if I ever am able to retire, that would be one that I would love to do. And I've got some friends that have done that. Like they kind of do it piecemeal. Like one summer you do 3 ballparks, and then the next summer you do a few. I'd like to do that with Alexa, but I don't know that she's going to be a big enough baseball fan.
I'm knocking off, I believe, number 7 and 8 this season. We'll go see the White Sox and the Red Sox at their ballpark. So looking forward to that. And then if I had a third, it would be to meet Albert Pujols. Met him very briefly a couple years ago when he came back for Waino's retirement, but it was like, hey, Albert, picture. And then he left after getting a picture, so it wasn't really getting to sit and talk with him. But anyway. Okay. New article is warning people that they should not be placing packages that have been delivered to them on their dining tables. And it's something that I guess makes sense, but you just don't think about it because I don't know, where are you going to unbox them, right? Well, the reason that they say not to do this is nothing to do with clutter. It's actually something way worse. It's bugs. Cardboard is basically a hotel for insects. It traps moisture, has tiny hiding spots, and can pick up hitchhikers during shipping. Talking ants, beetles, moths, even cockroaches. And here's the gross part. Those bugs don't always stay in the box. Once they're brought inside the home, they can wander off, they can settle in. So they say keep them in the house as little as possible.
I'm going to go on a limb here
and get the boxes out.
I'm going to go on a little bit of a life-risking limb here because I've put my boxes on the dining table my entire life. I've been okay. I'm going to keep doing it because that's exactly where they go. And I've never seen anything crawl out of them, so I think I'm okay. And if something does crawl out of them, I'll whack them or I'll spray the Raid.
Is your wife afraid of killing the bugs? Is that a Mark Reardon thing in the house? It is in mine. Ethan kills the bugs.
No, she doesn't mind, I think, the ants and the stuff and the wasps and stuff like that, but she doesn't like where she draws the line is when Dashy, my cat, brings a vole or a mole or something like that to the door.
That's not a bug.
No,
that's
so
not
a bird.
Bug,
I have to clean that up.
It's going to be the summer of Mark Reardon, and when I say that, I tell you that Live Nation is offering $30 Summer of Live tickets to more than 4,000 concerts going on sale Wednesday for a limited time. Over 4,000 concerts will be available to choose from, including artists like Guns N' Roses, Iron Maiden, Machine Gun Kelly, Motley Crue, Santana, the Doobie Brothers, Pitbull. Wednesday, May 5th, Wednesday to May 5th. If you have T-Mobile, you can also sign up to have early access the day before. Mark, you going to try and capitalize?
I have no concerts on the list for this year at this point, which is kind of weird. But yeah, I don't have anything.
Yeah, that is weird.
I'm kind of surprised to hear that.
I'm surprised to hear it, but yeah. Look, part of it, honestly, and you guys know this, that I'm a ticket snob, right?
Yeah,
and
that's
the ticket
fair.
prices are crazy. So I actually do more self, like analysis. Do I really need to see this person spend that much money?
See, I make the choice, and I would prefer to go to a sporting event than a concert.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where I would spend my money.
10 times out of 10.
Yep.
A new survey shows 1 in 3 adults are having drinks at home before heading out. Why? Because cocktails and beers at bars and concerts are getting so ridiculously
I saw this story.
expensive.
Yeah.
So if it feels like a throwback to your college days, well, you're not wrong. Pre-gaming, it's back. Despite the people not being a fan, it is back, baby. One concert goer said she recently saw a single can of White Claw going for $20 at a concert.
That's
My
unreal.
sons
ridiculous?
are big into pre-gaming. Whenever, I hear them like, oh, we're going to pre-game before we go out tonight. And they had to explain to me what it was.
What
well, I
pre-game
bet
was?
they did.
You got educated a little bit, Fred?
Did you do some tequila shots with them or anything like that?
Oh, no.
No?
It'll
See,
happen one of these days.
I can't. You think I'd be able to? We were talking about retirement. You think I'd be able to retire at this point? If I just put, every beer that I would have purchased from, 1990 on till now, I would be a gazillionaire because I don't drink, and since 1990. But
Happy birthday to Joe Keery, who is 34 years old. We
Stranger
were
Things?
just joking about all the Stranger Things actors all being adults
he's
now.
the Joe,
Steve
right?
Harrington.
Joe.
Is 34.
Isn't that who that is?
Steve Harrington's his name in the show.
Joe, right?
Oh,
but,
Joe Keery, yes.
Yeah, but
yes.
the artist, though. I'm talking about the singer.
Joe, yes,
DJO,
that's
his
his artist name. Yes, correct. Kelly Clarkson's 44. Barbara Streisand is 84. Let's see, what else? On this day in history, in 1800, 226 years ago, the Library of Congress was established with a $5,000 allocation for the purchase of such books as may be necessary. And in 2007, the divorce between Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown was finalized. Okay, random fact of the daytime. I didn't do one yesterday, so I'm going to throw a couple of them in here real quick.
Quickly.
The first one, the average American will supposedly eat 35,000 cookies in their lifetime.
I like that.
I'm hitting the over on that
Yeah,
from
me
Mark
too.
Reardon. And then the other one, horses can't throw up. Their bodies aren't built to do it.
Bunnies can't throw up either.
Really?
Oreo can't
That's a
do
win
it
for you.
Yep,
One
that's
of your
right.
9 pets.
Thank you, Ethan. Ethan's news in the books.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. Procter & Gamble topped analyst expectations for its most recent quarter. Per share profit was $1.63 with revenue of $21.24 billion. Overall, volume was up 2%, which is the first time in a year they've seen growing volume across the company. The beauty division, which has Olay and Head & Shoulders, saw 5% volume growth. The family care segment saw volumes up 3%. British Airways will allow in-flight video and voice calls. The airline has started rolling out Starlink Wi-Fi on their planes, allowing passengers to make in-flight video and voice calls. This means that your fellow passengers could spend a lot of the flight chatting over FaceTime, calling friends on WhatsApp, and more. Wall Street stocks finished mixed, but the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 posted record closes for the second time in a week. Dow was down 79 points at 49,231. NASDAQ up 398, S&P 500 up 56. And that's Your Money Now.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code FAME25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code FAME25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code FAME25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Don't miss a baseball showdown at Busch Stadium when Shohei Ohtani and the LA Dodgers roll into the Lou, May 1st through the 3rd. Kick off the weekend with Friday Night Live and a must-have short-sleeve hoodie giveaway. Saturday brings a Mason Wynn bobblehead celebrating his Gold Glove Award. Then Sunday features a sleek blade collar shirt giveaway. Big names, big matchups, and big giveaways all weekend long. Tickets at cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Mason Wynn. Get your tickets at cardinals.com.
The 1-2, and that's grounded up the middle. Diving play, Mason Wynn to his feet. He throws, he got him!
What's up, Cardinals fans? Mason Wynn here. On Saturday, May 2nd, when we face the Dodgers, you can take home the Mason Wynn Gold Glove bobblehead, presented by the Shane Company. It's got my chain, my first gold glove, my whole look, just how I rock it. Plus, a few rare all-gold baubles will be randomly mixed in for 500 lucky fans. This is one you won't want to miss. Get your tickets now at cardinals.com/promotions.
Hey, I want to talk about Michael's Flooring Outlet. I've had such a great experience with Mike and the team. They can help you, offering the most advanced technology in flooring. Technology matters in everything. And, you know, with flooring, it's been really interesting to see how, depending on your lifestyle, if you have pets, if you have a little bunny rabbit, you know, running around your house like I do, you might need different technology, things that are pet-proof or waterproof or scratch-proof. They can guide you into the perfect product for your particular lifestyle. And they make it real easy. And if you go to the website, you can kind of get started on some homework. Go to IGotFlooring.com. They are open today, tomorrow, closed on Sunday. But walk into one of those 3 locations in Old Town St. Peters, in Darden Prairie, and in West County on Olive. Look at the selection that they have. It can be a little overwhelming, which is why you want to use the experts at Michael's. They have beautiful mohawk, silky, soft carpeting of all kinds of products. And you can even, you know, kind of use the website in a homework type of way by going up there, clicking on the inspiration tab. You can upload a picture of your decor, match it up with some of the flooring, even order some samples from the website if you care to. I always say go into the store. They're open every day except for Sunday. Michael's Flooring Outlet, IGotFloor.com.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Consistently right.
It's a ritual.
97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
A big Michael Jackson movie coming out today.
I believe music can change the world. Spread love, joy, and peace. That is what I want the world to feel. Magic.
The biggest pop star in history, Paul Hall, but also someone who carries, you know, quite a bit of weight on some things that are controversial that my understanding was not covered in the movie. But how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing well, and I've had a chance to see Michael, and I have a definite opinion on it. It is one of those things that I think people from today's generation may not realize how big Michael Jackson was at that point in his life. When he released Thriller right after Off the Wall, then they went on the Victory Tour, all of that stuff. As I explained to my daughter, I said, take Taylor Swift right now, multiply it by 2 or 3. And that's kind of where he was in the lexicon.
It is hard. I think you're right. Like, to put that into a modern day perspective, but that's how big it was. And it just kept getting bigger for a while. And obviously a lot of this started with his family in the early 1970s. Right. Now, there was a movie that was called Leaving Neverland, which was a 2-part documentary. Right. Dan Reed was the director, and it, you know, explored the allegations of child sexual abuse against Michael Jackson. So a lot of people are struggling because do we think about Michael in those terms or in the pop star performer terms? Look, my opinion, this is just my opinion of this, that the kids that were featured in that documentary and some of the accusers of Michael Jackson have been pretty discredited in certain ways. Now, I don't know really what happened, but the reason that I give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt is because I've seen what's happened with these accusers and how money is a motivator. So I know that you've seen the film, so tell me what you thought overall.
Yeah, the film itself starts with the early Jackson 5 days. Joe Jackson here is played by Coleman Domingo. He is spectacular in a performance of a guy who you love to hate throughout the movie for obvious reasons. Anyone who knows the history there knows where that's going. Mom is Nia Long, and the two of them bring Michael along. Jafar Jackson plays Michael here, and they bring him through the point of becoming his own person. Now, you leave out virtually everything here that's anything bad, but you know what? I say If you want to make a movie about something totally bad, make that movie. You can. This is more of a love letter to the man and his music and his love of a lot of things outside of just simply the negative that's out there. Now, that said, you're going to go see a movie that's all about music. It's going to give you lots of pieces of his music, not all of them. Obviously, you can't get them all in. And it's going to intersperse it with mild amounts of in-between scenes, shall we say, that will kind of bring it all together. I do think all that stuff was missing, but you know what? For Michael Jackson fans, this is a home run. I mean, it really gives you what you want to see, and it gives you a little bit, just a little bit, of his background. There's a lot missing, but that judge that on your own.
Even though I have questions about the accusations, I don't know that I can disagree with Dan Reed, who is the guy that made Leaving Neverland, because what he says is, how can you tell an authentic story about Michael Jackson without even ever mentioning the fact that he was seriously accused of being a child molester? And, you know, I don't know what the answer has been from the filmmakers. I know they've been asked that, right?
Yeah, I haven't heard the answer out there, quite frankly. But this is like if you were going to do some of the stuff you see a lot of now, where it's all about music, and it just it doesn't get into a whole lot of anything other than Joe Jackson, a little bit of his history with the band and with Michael himself. It deals with Michael's compassion at the burn hospital after his Pepsi incident that happens. It deals with all positive, and there's very little negative other than what happens to Michael, not what Michael may or may not have been involved in. Take that for what it is.
You know, Dan Reed says Michael Jackson was worse than Jeffrey Epstein. He featured two people in that movie, Wade Robson and James Safechuck. Those were the accusers, and they were given all kinds of credibility. Maybe they were telling the truth, but I think that their credibility has been called into question. So, but I do think that you probably should mention it in a biopic, but I guess they chose to leave it out completely.
Yeah, it's more of a music pick than a biopic. I wouldn't even call this necessarily a biopic because there's not enough meat on any bone here when it comes to the whole. I mean, we gloss over things like plastic surgery. We get one quick hit on that and another possibly kind of half hit on it. So you gloss over a lot of the things people had questions about. You see animals everywhere. You gloss over a lot of the crazy animal claims that were out there too. So you do gloss over everything other than the music. So if you're going to go have fun and you like the music, this is a music type of movie. And from that perspective, it works.
So I don't know that the guy that's playing Michael in the clips that I've seen seems pretty convincing.
Oh, he's spot on convincing.
Yeah.
He is, I believe he's a nephew in the Jackson family there that came to.
Jafar Jackson is his name, right?
Correct. And
he is. Let's say he's the son of Jermaine.
Yes.
And okay, so he was Michael Jackson's nephew. That's crazy. Because
Yeah,
look, even when I've seen some side by sides with the dancing, and he got the moves down.
Oh, he does, and they use Michael's music, so it's not necessarily Jafar singing; it's
Right.
Michael singing Michael. So you get a real authentic sound there. The biggest criticism I've heard is all the Jackson family was very involved in making this. So obviously they're going to make a very positive, kind of heartwarming, happy-go-lucky film. There's something at the end. Anton Fuqua gives his story will continue. What does that mean? Is there another movie coming? Is there a movie about the darkness of it?
Well,
I
that's
don't know.
interesting. Yeah, it could be. All right, Paul Hall is here from Common Guy Films. Let's run through a few more things. Anything out of the theaters outside of that you want to mention right now?
Yeah, let's mention two quick ones. I swear, you remember back at the BAFTAs, you had your issue with the gentleman with Tourette's in the audience. And
this is that movie.
Well, I swear is all about Tourette's and kind of becoming that person who takes and overcomes what is obviously a huge challenge. I mean, nobody on the air could go through and have Tourette's. It just wouldn't work with today's guidelines, especially on-air broadcast. He had to get over it and get through it and become productive, and he does. It's a really good movie. It's a heartwarming movie. That's in theaters. And a heist movie that I actually found quite interesting, Fuse, is out. This is about a bomb in the middle of the city in London, and all of a sudden everything's evacuated, and it may just be a smoke screen for a heist. It's one of those great heist type of films. Aaron Taylor Johnson stars alongside Gugu Mbatha-Raw, who I really enjoy. For those of you who like heist films, you could do a lot worse than Fuse.
All right. What's this show on Netflix with Charlize Theron?
Apex, a new movie. Charlize Theron, Taron Egerton. Charlize loses someone very close to her early in the film and goes off to Australia to go ahead and, take care of, bring him back to nature, shall we say. Instead, she runs into Taron Egerton. Now, Taron Egerton has decided he will hunt people in the wilderness. It is gruesome. It is gory. It definitely will shock you at times. However, it also is a story about empowerment and about rising above the most formidable of circumstances. I found myself enjoying it and wondering why it was Netflix and not in a theater.
That's interesting. They made that choice quite a bit lately. There's always going to be reasons, right? And then the movie that I missed, the one film from the awards season that I really wanted to see that I never did was Marty Supreme. And that's now on HBO Max this weekend, right?
Yeah, it's there for you to check out. I was not a fan. I mean,
Really?
overall,
You didn't
I
like
think
it?
it did not hit with me like it did with so many people. I wouldn't say I didn't like it, but I didn't look at it in the glowing terms that so many people did. I think Chalamet was okay. I don't think he was phenomenal. Kevin O'Leary is in there and others. It is an interesting movie to take a look at now that it's on Max. If you didn't get a chance to see it yet, see what it's all about.
So I'm all caught up on your friends and neighbors. I ran into my colleague Mike Claiborne today. We share some passion for some good television and bad television, unfortunately. And he really likes the way this second season is going. I'm a little bit more lukewarm. I am caught up, though, because I think they released that last episode last night, and I watched it. I like it. I don't dislike it. I thought, I felt like the first season was one of the best, if not the best show I watched all of last year. But I do love James Marsden, and I'm willing to see where this is taking us because they are holding my interest. And I've mentioned this, and Paul, you and I have talked about this a lot. Sophomore seasons are tough, especially, and if you don't know too much about your friends and neighbors, taking what happened in that to, make it go into the future, into the second season. They had to get a little gimmicky, but I'm going to, give it patience and see where it goes.
Yeah, it deviates quite a bit from the first season as you go on in that season. Definitely, though, it gets back to what really drove it, and John Hamm's character, James
He's
Marsden's
fantastic.
a great addition.
Yeah, Marsden's really good at it. Tell folks where they can find your reviews.
Simple, commonguy.com.
Paul, we'll talk next week.
Take care.
All right, see you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, got some slowdowns if you're headed on 70 westbound 367 over to about Jennings Station and coming out of downtown, then slow spots from Fallon to 64. 270 just northbound delays from Manchester up to past 64. 64 on your westbound side, your stuff goes from Kings Highway to Big Bend, 364 to 70 on the west end, and eastbound side to 170 to Big Bend, and southbound 170 heavy going from Olive down to 64. I'm Trent Erickson at 443 on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, it's Annie. Grab your clubs and head to Tamarack Golf Course on Friday, May 22nd for the St. Clair County Republicans annual golf tournament. Shotgun start, 18 holes, carts, contest, lunch, and great prizes. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
Warm weather means more storms, and you never know when the high winds or the hail might damage your roof. Mark Cox here from my friends at Correll Roofing Company. If you haven't had your roof inspected in the last 5 years, you need to call Curtis Correll and get that inspection to check for leaks and for damage. We've already had small hailstorms this spring, and we're not quite a year out from the big hailstorm last May. Your window may be closing to file an insurance claim connected to that. Now, here's what Curtis tells me. They are getting roofs approved for insurance claims from that 2024 storm with no problem. They're so good at what they do. The insurance companies respect and respond to them. Consider this part of your spring maintenance for your home and call Curtis today and get him out there. He did my new roof, and it looks fantastic. You're going to love working with him. They specialize in all the luxury roof shingle lines. Call 314-222-9529 or go online today to CorrellRoofingCo.com.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it with a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
Well, the Cardinals are in Seattle. We're going to talk a little baseball. What, they're not? I thought they were. Wait, hang on a second here. They're here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's right. This is a home, like a three That's where I went wrong.
Yep.
Frank Cusumano's laughing at me right now. I swear to God, I thought they were out of town and then they were coming back next week, but that's not true, is it, Frank? How are you?
Yeah, they'll have a nice 3-game series with the Mariners tonight. Andre Palante, who's been quite good, quite surprisingly good. I mean, the confidence level in this guy before the season was like a 2, and now I think people think, hey, he's going to give us a good 6 innings. So let's hope it continues for Andre Palante tonight.
Will we see Miles Michaelis this weekend?
Brendan Donovan. You're thinking Donnie.
Oh, Brendan Donovan,
We
yeah.
saw Michaelis already against Washington, but Donovan, Frank.
Okay.
Yes. Donovan is injured, and he is not even going to make the trip.
Oh, wow.
So it deprives St. Louis fans of giving one of their favorite players of the last 3 years, an incredible ovation. You know how we Cardinal fans are, Mark. We'll give, Aaron Miles an ovation like he was in the Hall of Fame. So Brendan Donovan would really have gotten a thunderous applause.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, we'll circle back to baseball in a second, but let's start with the NFL draft. Jeremiah Love, 3rd overall, goes to the Arizona Cardinals. The highest a St. Louis kid has ever gone in the draft, Frank. Is that true?
Yes, just eclipsing the mark of Ezekiel Elliott from Ohio State, who went 4th to the Dallas Cowboys.
So I don't know, the question for Arizona, but there's a lot of talent on that team. I think he can really make an impact, but they don't really have a quarterback, do they?
No, they don't. I think as we speak, the starter is Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, I think so.
Gives you an idea. Now, I think the interesting thing about Love is his contract. It's $50 million guaranteed. And I don't think any running back has ever gotten $50 million guaranteed, certainly no rookie running back in NFL history.
So that's the contract from the framework from pick number 3 is what you're saying? They basically know what those numbers will be?
Well, he signed it's already signed.
Oh, wow,
I don't
okay.
know if that was initially put in there, but that's what his contract is. And I really believe it's the most guaranteed money a running back has ever gotten.
Frank, we saw a couple of trades last night. There were a couple of surprises throughout. A lot of linemen taken in the first round of the NFL draft. Was there anything from last night that stood out to you, or some biggest winners or losers or anything?
Well, Ty Simpson going to the Rams at 13. It's the first time in, I think it was 25 years, that a team drafted with their first-round pick a quarterback after their quarterback had just been named the most valuable player. So I think Simpson's going to be a good player, but it was still kind of shocking. But Coach McVay went out of his way to say, this is Matthew Stafford's team. But he is 38, and sometimes, as we've seen in Green Bay, they make these picks. They seem kind of weird picking a quarterback when they had a great one, and it's worked out pretty well, as Mark knows better than anybody.
But look, Les Snead, your favorite person on the planet, was in this news conference, and if you looked at it when they were talking about the pick, because I was shocked that they took a quarterback, and Sean McVay looked very uncomfortable. The body language was like, wait, I'm not sure I'm all on board with that, but it was interesting for sure. I just don't know why you wouldn't have better communication with your head coach.
Yeah, but ultimately, it's Les Snead's call. And, if you look at Les Snead's body of work, and by the way, I don't have anything against Les Snead. I think he's great. I just don't like Demoff and Kroenke.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my mistake, Frank, and I shouldn't have attributed it. It was the other one that I was thinking of.
Yeah, Demoff, the little weasel.
That's
actually.
right. That's right. I'm sorry about that.
Les is really sharp and has done a great job drafting.
Zion Young, he didn't go in the first round, but he's probably going to go pretty early in the second round, right?
Yeah, it breaks a streak of Missouri having that first-round pick because they had one for the last 2 years. But I think there's still a reasonable chance Mizzou could tie their record of 6 players being drafted. Kevin Coleman, I think he's going to be a third-day guy. He's from St. Mary's High School, of course, and had a fine season for the Tigers last year.
I think he's got – look, I predicted bigger things for Kevin Coleman last year. You might remember I thought he was going to have more of an impact even than Luther Burden, but I think he's young and he's got a lot of talent. I think that's what these NFL teams will see. Well, right, no, and certainly that has a role too. Let's get back to the Cardinals because obviously they didn't win this last series, but we've gotten off to a pretty good start here. And Jordan Walker's hitting home runs. Gorman's kind of heating up a little bit. Even Mason Wynn has been impressive. So we head into this weekend series. Are we also in the situation where everyone in the Central still has a winning record?
Yes. It's shocking because normally the National League Central is the worst division of them all. Now, we're not to May yet, but I think everybody has been surprisingly good. In particular, the Cardinals to be 14-10 at this point after gloom and doom was predicted. And you know what I really like is I know people want to complain about the bullpen, but as we speak, with Romero, with O'Brien, with Graceffo, and I think Swanson is going to end up being fine. He was good in his last outing, and he throws 97. If you can get about 5 guys in that bullpen going well, you got a chance to be pretty good because the starters have been reasonably good too. You get 5 to 6 good innings out of them on most nights.
Oh, there's so many different directions you could go with this lineup right now. Let's talk about Mason Wynn. He's been heating up a little bit. He had a great series against Houston, and a 17-game stretch here beginning for the Cardinals. How important is it going to be for them to be able to lengthen out this lineup a little bit and have Wynn continue to heat up at the plate?
Yeah, because you know your first 4 are on-base machines as we speak. You just need a little bit more. I mean, Victor Scott, God bless him, is just not offensively there. Left field spot, not offensively there. Gorman's been up and down. So you'd like to think Mason Wynn, who has had one really good offensive season in the big leagues, could be that 5th hitter, not necessarily 5th in the lineup,
sure,
but a 5th weapon. Because you just can't do it with a lineup that all of a sudden after 4 just drops off the face of the earth. And we'll see what happens with Mason Wynn moving forward, but I'm optimistic after what we've recently seen.
What's on the show on Sunday night?
We got a bunch of cool stories. Robbie Avila talks about his future and his week at the NBA tryout camp at Portsmouth. We're going to tell an amazing story of a golfer from CBC High School who 20 years ago this month got a chance to play in the Masters, and then 6 weeks later, the U.S. Open. His name is John Kelly. It's a really cool story.
What is the prospect for Robbie in the draft?
Well, as we speak, I think it's doubtful he's going to get drafted. I think it depends on how he performs in some of these tryouts. Could he go late in the second round? I guess there's a chance. But he'll play in the NBA Summer League, and he's not working on his Italian or his Spanish. He doesn't want to go to Europe yet. No. He wants to give this thing a shot, maybe start in the G League, maybe be a two-way player. I know he athletically is not there, but he is 6'10". He does have a skill set. He knocks down threes, sees the floor like few big men. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, plus he's just a cool dude who can be marketed, I think, pretty effectively as well. And there's some appeal there for sure. All right, Frank, hey, have a great weekend. I'm sorry that I assigned the Cardinals to a different city because I really was not up to speed on that. I feel stupid because I watch baseball every day. But have a great weekend. We'll talk next week on Monday.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, take care. I don't know why. I think that was in my mind like the whole week here because I know that, let's face it, I'm not going to miss out on a week from tonight, which is Diet Coke night at the ballpark.
Yeah,
so I'm very aware of
Dodgers.
the Dodgers and the Brewers coming to town. But this is just kind of one of those weird in for a few days and then out until next Friday.
This is going to be a very important stretch for the Cardinals. The combined win percentage of the teams they have faced up to this point in the year is like at 44%.
Right. Yeah.
It's not good. And it's going to be around 57% for this next 17-game stretch where they will not have any days off in there. So you're going to learn a lot about this young St. Louis Cardinals team and what it's going to look like exactly, after being battle tested a little bit. Here's the good news, Mark, is that this lineup that Seattle has, we know they are pitching heavy. Some of their big bats, though, are off to a rough start this year. Cal Raleigh, Mark, second in the MVP voting, broke the AL record
he's
for a
starting
home
off cool.
198 batting average to start off the year. Same thing with Josh Naylor, batting 194 on the year. So some of their big dogs in the lineup are off to a slow start. We'll see if Andre Palante and this pitching staff can take advantage of that.
I think to your point, though, if we look at this, okay, it's the 24th of April, right? They have this series, and where do they go before they come back with the Dodgers and Brewers?
4-game series against Pittsburgh.
Okay,
and Pittsburgh's playing well.
Right.
Yeah.
So but if we look at 2 weeks from now, May 8th, that'll be an interesting. Let's kind of remember that because of where we are and where we could be.
A little eval point.
Yeah. I think Mike. I mentioned Mike Claiborne's name earlier. He's always the Flag Day guy. You know that?
Oh yeah.
He's like you really can't get a sense of where your team is until Flag Day, which is the 14th of June. But we're going to get a pretty good sense here in the next couple of weeks for sure.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got a stall northbound on 270 that's causing big backups. It's just past Olive in the 2 right lanes. I don't know how a stall takes up 2 right lanes, but it is. And it's heavy from Manchester all the way up to Olive and southbound side from Page down to past Olive, almost down to 64. Now we're seeing delays as they take a look at, the stall on the other side. Southbound side of 170 is slow going from about Olive down to 64. Northbound side just approaching Airport Road. 70, some westbound delays past 367 as you make your way out of downtown. And 64 westbound from Kings Highway over to Big Bend is heavy. The eastbound side slows a bit between about McKnight and Big Bend, and then getting over the Poplar Street Bridge is really jammed up on the westbound side of 64 as well. And then 70 eastbound getting into downtown is very heavy. I'm Trent Erickson at 456 on 97.1 FM Talk.
It's time for you to get to know my friends at Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield, where luxury meets comfort. Mark Cox here. They have a great selection of rare bourbons, whiskeys, craft cocktails, anything you like to drink, cold beer, premium hand-rolled cigars from the finest makers in the world, even private lockers that are available if you choose to. Perfect for date nights or business meetings, and live music every Friday night. Family-owned and operated. Check them out in Chesterfield at the District. It's litstl.com.
Triton Exteriors, St. Louis roofing, siding, and gutter systems. We'll take care of you and your home. We're #1 in the Ladue, Kirkwood, and Webster area. James Hardy certified. Visit triton.stl.com to be connected with a James Hardy expert and receive a free estimate. Triton-stl.com or call 314-717-1159. That's 314-717-1159. Triton Exteriors, St. Louis #1 James Hardy specialists.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit ThrottleNet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
I'm William Shatner. I've been around a long time, but I'm truly humbled when I see the real battles our brave, paralyzed veterans have faced defending our freedom. And when they come home.
I had just come home from serving over in Germany. Next thing I know, it was 3 weeks later. I was paralyzed.
While parachuting with my platoon, my parachute didn't open. I broke my neck. It left me paralyzed for the rest of my life.
I was on a routine patrol, and we were in the desert of Kuwait, and the vehicle flipped and landed on top of me, which left me paralyzed from the waist down.
Okay, folks, this is heroism. That's why I'm proud to support Paralyzed Veterans of America, because they've kept their promise to never leave a fallen soldier behind. A roof over their heads, accessible homes and cars, jobs, benefits.
PVA has brought me back to life.
Show them their sacrifice hasn't been in vain. Go to PVA.org to learn how you can make a difference.
We're going to have a conversation with Aaron Perlut, who is the founder of a company here called Elasticity, if I can say it the right way. But he's written a book called The Death of Compromise, so we're going to have a little discussion about that. Plus, Kevin Abing, who's written a book about the Cardinals World Series in 1926. It's all coming up.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump is sending negotiators to Pakistan for another round of talks with Iran.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the administration has seen progress from the Iranian side over the past couple of days. So President Trump is sending Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner to Islamabad for a second round of talks.
The Iranians want to talk. They want to talk in person. And so the president is, as I've said many, many times to all of you, always willing to give diplomacy a chance.
There are no plans for Vice President J.D. Vance to attend this second round of talks, though Leavitt says he is on standby should that change. Iranian state media says there is no second round of talks yet scheduled.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. The body of one of the missing Bangladeshi students missing from the University of South Florida has been found. Samil Limon's remains were discovered on the I-275 bridge linking Tampa and St. Petersburg. His roommate has been taken into custody, but his girlfriend, Ahita Bristi, is still missing.
Where has she been seen recently? If anybody has that information, please contact the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office.
Hillsborough County Chief Deputy Joseph Maurer, a relative, says Limon and Bristi were a couple and were considering marriage. They disappeared from campus April 16th. 91 counties in Georgia under a state of emergency as wildfires rage in the southeast part of the state.
The two fires that we're fighting, among many others in Georgia, but the Pineland fire and the Highway 82 fire ranked number 1 and 2 in the country. So we got the two most dangerous, biggest, problematic fires anywhere in the United States.
Governor Brian Kemp, a volunteer firefighter, died battling a fire in northern Florida. More than 120 homes have been burned in both states. More storms possible tonight through south central and southeast Oklahoma, a day after a tornado ripped through the town of Enid. America's listening to Fox News.
My name is Christine, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, was a healthy 34-year-old, and 3 months later, he was gone. Thankfully, he had life insurance. Ethos made it so easy. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. 100% online, no medical exam. Life insurance didn't take away the loss, but it did give us the space to just grieve.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. Ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Here's a tale of Becky. Didn't know what to do with new meds prescribed and no real cost clue.
She squinted at prices, that can't be right. Then tapped GoodRx and saw the light.
She could get a deal. Book telehealth if she feel.
Learn about those meds without any stress. That one little app does all the rest. Even my horse downloaded it. Dang, save time and money on prescriptions.
Check GoodRx. GoodRx is not insured.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
The unsettled weather is gone. We've got a pretty nice weekend on the way. Partly cloudy skies tonight, evening temperatures not too bad. 54 for the overnight low on Saturday. Plenty of sunshine. Let's call it nice. Beautiful day Saturday, 76 degrees. Saturday night, partly cloudy, 54. Sunday, partly sunny, windy, especially in the afternoon, and 75. Showers and thunderstorms developing late Sunday night and into Monday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, Friday afternoon, I miss Sue today. I'm not going to lie. She is off until Wednesday down in Arkansas searching for diamonds, but we miss her, but she'll be back soon enough. Kevin Abing is going to come in at the bottom of the hour. He's written a book about the 1926 Cardinals World Series champions. It's called Baseball Magic and Mayhem in St. Louis. So he's coming up, plus we'll have audio cut of the day. Right now, in the studio with us, we don't often get all this in-studio action on Friday, Aaron Perlut, who is the co-founder of Elasticity. It's a company that, if I'm not mistaken, used to be in this building, Aaron, right? Weren't you in here for a while?
We were never in this building.
I thought you were.
We were right down the street,
okay.
Though, and now we're in downtown West, right near the Fox Theater.
Let me tell you, I've gotten a lot of stuff wrong today, so that's just consistent with the way that I'm rolling with things. But we used to see each other a little bit when I was on KMOX. You've written a book called The Death of Compromise, How an Unquenchable Thirst for Power, Racism, and Media Killed Political and Cultural Compromise in America. I've seen you write about this a little bit on Facebook. It piqued my attention, and then I think you reached out to me.
Yeah.
So where does this come from, first of all?
Yeah, well, I think it comes from a few places. One, my general nature in my career, in that you mentioned that I work in marketing. I always have, and in marketing, everything you do, everything you build, everything you create is it's an aggregate of a team dynamic, and you have to make a lot of compromises because you might believe that one idea is the best idea, but ultimately it comes down to this team dynamic. And so compromise is a huge function of not only that, but it's really any successful marriage. You care more about the marriage than you do about being right, more often than not. And unfortunately, in politics, we're in this place now where we care more about being right than we do about the health of our republic. And I think when it really hit home for me was last year, September 10th. I'm, at home, and I'm just thinking about my son. My son, it was his 21st birthday. And I'm just thinking about being proud of him like any parent would hopefully do. And then the news comes out that Charlie Kirk is murdered. And this is right on the heels of those two Minnesota legislators one was killed, her and her husband, and one was shot along with his wife. And it upset me so much that I decided to write this book, because we've come to a place where violence against one another, whether you're Republican, Democrat, or somewhere in between, has become the norm. And to me, that's entirely unacceptable. When compromise dies, it takes with it the foundation of human progress. And I think that was like the breaking point for me when Charlie Kirk was murdered. Whether I agreed with him or not, it didn't matter. It's just the fact that we've come to this, and this is becoming a regular thing in our society.
Yeah, it's awful. And, I say sometimes to people, and maybe I say this half jokingly, but maybe not half jokingly, there's a large part of me that after I wrap up my day or my week, I sit back and I say, man, I wish I could go back to the 1980s and just play music on the radio, because it gets tough. And I am someone who tries to, take one issue one at a time, call balls and strikes, right? Now, I certainly have a philosophy and ideology, and I lean in certain ways, but, one of the things that always annoyed me when I was on the other station, this doesn't happen as much here because we're a conservative station, but on KMOX there were people that would reach out and they'd call me a rhino. And I hate playing the rhino game. Rhino is Republican in name only. So if you deviated just a little bit from where somebody thinks you should be on that political spectrum, all of a sudden you're not good enough in any way, shape, or form. And I think this kind of addresses your issue of compromise, because I'm a believer in it. It's become a bad word in Washington. It's become a bad word in Jeff City. Now, the reality of it is some of the big things that get done, there are compromises. They're not as sexy. We don't hear about them as much. But it's frustrating to me because we have lost that. And by the way, Aaron, I don't know if there's hope in this book, but I don't have a lot of hope for it to come back the way it was.
It worries me a lot. And I do think we almost have gotten to the point where we need to teach compromise, because this has gone well beyond politics. This has become part of the cultural fabric of the U.S. And I'm glad you brought up the 80s because, I worked for Bob Dole when he was running for president. The 80s were a very different time politically in that, the Reagan administration was very successful because Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill were working together on a lot of different pieces of legislation. And it's a very different time now. And it's in this book, a lot of people have asked me if this is a political book, and I think that's the presumption. And to me, it's really more of a historical analysis because I wanted to understand. I've never been a politics person,
right?
Like a politics wonk. But I wanted to go back and understand, how did we get to where we are today? I was born in 1971, and I couldn't understand how we've gotten from time period of the 80s that I was kind of like growing up in and my formative years to where we are today, where we're actively trying to sabotage one another and don't understand that we're cutting off our nose in spite of our face collectively, and everyone is doing it. Like, some people have asked me, well, who's at fault? Well, no one's at fault, and everyone's at fault.
Well, how do you trace that historically? Because look, I've talked about this over the decades, if you will, and there's different, pivot points, and there's different people in the media that you can point to. I mean, a lot of this is really, let's face it, social media is exacerbated. And I'm a fan.
Huge
Look,
part
I
of it.
jumped on Twitter real fast. I loved it. I still do. But let's face it. I mean, Facebook, where I don't really post much on Facebook at all, except pictures of my bunny and my kids and stuff like that, because it's just freaking toxic. And,
Yeah.
you know, and by the way, it's toxic on both sides. I see people on both sides acting like complete fools and idiots. They all want to think that they should have their own talk show, but maybe they should think about what they're writing, and it becomes ridiculous. So, you know, I doom scroll and I look at stuff and I'm like, what are you even saying?
Yeah.
So social media has not been a help.
Certainly not. And the algorithms specifically have isolated us to our own opinions. But so I didn't leave this book up to just my own doings. I spoke with former Senator, U.S. Senator John Danforth from here.
Yeah.
I spoke to Tom Daschle, who is the Senate leader. I spoke with economists. I spoke with a former NRA lobbyist, a variety of people. I spoke with clergy about it because John Danforth, one of the things that he mentioned to me was that he believed that religious leadership in this country has truly failed.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was really fascinating. So I think there's a variety of factors, and these things have been simmering for the past 50 or 60 years. Tom Daschle said something to me that was really interesting, and this bled into social media, to your point. He believes that C-SPAN was one of the most, and televising the proceedings in Congress was one of the most damaging things because it gave light to a performative nature of politics.
That's interesting.
And his best friend in the world is Trent Lott. And the two of them, they were each their leaders of their party in the Senate. And he said the two of them would discuss how people would give these very, nonplussed speeches on the floors. But then when the cameras were off and they were having these discussions late at night, they were very impassioned. He said people would have tears in their eyes because of the meaning, and they weren't worried about, again, the performative nature of Congress and what was happening. So that played a role. There was things like the 1964 Civil Rights legislation that LBJ brought through, and the reaction to that had a huge impact on our culture and politics. And so there was a variety of things. Two of them you named, or one of them you named rather, and even the if you looked at the 1994 when we had the Republican Revolution, that's when language on the floor of Congress and in the Senate began to change, where you started to see on both sides, but it began with that revolution. Newt Gingrich used very charged language that had never been seen before. He's a really instrumental politician.
Oh, I think you're right about
in the
that,
history
yeah.
of America, because
and then he and Clinton at the same time was a fascinating period.
going
for sure.
at each other,
Sure.
and I will tell you the President Clinton, and for all his moral flaws, and the defensiveness with which his administration defended him, played a role in that as well. So I mean, you had it from, again, both sides, and so it's been fascinating. All these different things that have been simmering that have gotten us to today.
Aaron Perlut is here. He has written a new book called The Death of Compromise, How an Unquenchable Thirst for Power, Racism, and Media Killed Political and Cultural Compromise in America. You mentioned Senator Danforth because, he does come from a different era. Someone like Senator Danforth doesn't really fit in the modern Senate. But do you remember when, and I think about him every once in a while because we were friends and we took our boys to see the Rolling Stones, but Tom Schweik, who was the former state auditor who, killed himself, it was a terrible, tragic thing, shot himself in the head. He was going through some issues, and I was not even aware, and Tom and I were relatively close. But I went to that funeral, the memorial for Tom Schweik, and Senator Danforth was there. He spoke very impassionately about some of these things, and this was probably maybe more than a decade ago. And I bring it up because nothing that he warned about has been fixed. It's actually gotten worse over the years. And the one person, I've mentioned this to Senator Danforth, it's been a while since I've seen him, but Aaron, I still mention this, and I think about him almost on a weekly basis because I'm so disgusted with the media. I miss Tim Russert because Tim Russert was that guy on Sunday morning. And by the way, a guy that worked for a Democrat in Daniel Patrick Moynihan, right? But he was a guy that was not afraid to ask tough questions of everyone. And you really didn't know. If you didn't know he worked for Daniel Patrick Moynihan, one of the biggest Democrats in the 80s, you weren't really sure where Tim was because he was so good. There's nothing like that in the media. There just isn't right now. And if there is, someone should guide me into it. And I think that's really sad, unfortunately.
It is really sad. And I think what's happened is that this performative politics has made these people that we look up to, that children see, vilify people that we might have fundamental differences. And, just to be very clear, like, this book is not looking to change anyone's opinion on what they believe. That's the last thing I would ever want. I simply wanted to go back and find out what is driving all this hate towards one another. And we use these charged words these days, whether it's calling someone a racist. We use them very flippantly. In fact, I've seen that more here in St. Louis than I've lived all over the country. It gets used far too casually.
Yeah.
And so we use these very charged words to demonize people that maybe we have differences with. To your point on Senator Danforth, I was watching today. So John McCain is one of my favorite politicians ever. One of the people I admired most in public life. I will never forget. He was hosting a town hall, and he was getting asked some very tough questions about President Obama's when they were running against each other. And someone said, "Well, I don't like him. He's a Muslim. He's a bad man." And he said, "No, I know President Obama. He's a good man. We just disagree on some very fundamental policy issues." That's what politics is about. But unfortunately, we've taken this lead from politicians culturally, and now we apply them in our churches, in city council meetings, in our communities, because someone across the table has different ideals on how something should be accomplished.
So I'm curious here, do you pin any of the blame on guys like me?
So there is, yes.
Yeah.
Short answer is, there was something in 1987 that the FCC decided to do, and that was repealing something called the Fairness Doctrine, which had been...
By the way, I'm old enough to have worked under the Fairness Doctrine in media because I started in 1981, and yes.
And that fundamentally changed media. That is what created Rush Limbaugh. And Rush Limbaugh was really the first of his kind.
Rush Limbaugh is what created me.
Yeah.
Because I heard Rush Limbaugh, I'm doing music radio, and I'm like, I want to do that on the radio. I was actually willing to take a pay cut to do it, and lo and behold, the station I worked for at the time bought the other station. So that became a big... But yeah, there weren't flamethrowers on the radio. I guess you can say the FM guys like Smash and Howard Stern back in the day, and the folks, DC 101... Those were the shot. JC was like that.
Yeah, they were doing it for laughs,
but
though.
Different, right?
Yeah.
Well, you know what's interesting, and this is kind of one of those things people forget, is Rush Limbaugh was an amazing entertainer for most of his career, but he got away from that because he used to do things that were funny. I actually had a morning show partner in Columbia, Missouri, that produced a lot of the satire and the bits that he did early on. This would have been, in the period in the 90s up to the early 2000s, I think. But he got away from a lot of that stuff and really, in my opinion, maybe even took himself a little bit too seriously because I thought he was a master entertainer when he was really good at what he did, but the latter years were a little different, in my opinion.
Yeah, no question. He was a terrific entertainer, but he moved elections.
Yeah.
He became, from someone who started in very local roots, he became a national phenomenon, and he became the archetype for Fox News, for MSNBC, and ultimately, you saw CNN went from a very centrist-oriented, non-political or apolitical platform to now it's all politics all the time because you have to have opinion, and it sells. So, yeah, to a degree, there is no question that media has played a role in this too.
Yeah, and I that's why I try to at least have my role as calling balls and strikes, and I'm not unwilling to criticize the other side. Look, I've taken some hits here in the past couple of days because, again, you like I had this argument yesterday with somebody about taxes because of the state income tax issue with Governor Kehoe, and they mentioned the gas tax, and I was a proponent of raising the gas tax in Missouri because I felt that was a tax, and I still do. It's a user tax. People from outside of Missouri pay it. You're coming through, obviously, Illinois, wherever, all the bordering states, but there's this sense with some people that if you even compromise on something like that, right, you're a rhino. You're not one of us, right? You're just a tax and that's what I heard yesterday. I'm a tax and spend Republican. What? Because I happen to think the gas tax should be raised a little for roads in Missouri, which, by the way, we're still at one of the lowest levels. But people like me will get called a rhino. I'll even offer another example. This one's really frustrating because I think he's a guy that for the most of his political career, I know this, worked on serious policy changes, really tried to do something to make a difference in this country when it came to entitlement reform and spending and budgets, et cetera. And now I can't even mention his name on my show because he's considered verboten in Republican circles. You want to take a guess at who that is? Former House Speaker Paul Ryan. And I knew Paul very well. We're friends. I've known him since he was a freshman in freshman in Congress. We didn't go back that far. He went to Miami of Ohio. But he was a guy that when I first came back to St. Louis, I featured on my show all the time. No one knew who he was. Well, then they knew who he was. And people loved him for a while until they didn't, because then he tangled with Trump and he was deemed not conservative enough. He worked for Jack Kemp. He was serious about reforming things. Not good enough. We don't want that type of politician anymore.
I'm glad you bring up Jack Kemp because I got to work with Jack Kemp because of the Dole campaign. He was his running mate. And so one of the chapters actually floats the notion, and this could never happen, would never happen, but in my mind, the ultimate compromise is the flat tax, which Jack Kemp was a huge proponent of. But if you think about what the flat tax ultimately offers, it is the perfect halfway meeting point between what conservatives have always asked for and liberals have always asked for. But for neither end does it go far enough, and it still leaves people out in the cold, so no one would ever go in it. I remember when Steve Forbes, back in I think it was the late 80s, he was the first one to really bring it to the national.
Well, he talked about it for a long time. I've had many conversations about Steve up until even probably 6 years ago about that. Yeah.
And Jack picked up and ran with it from there. Paul Ryan's a great example, though, of someone, he was an exceptional leader, and he got tired of the nastiness and ugliness of what politics was devolving in. And he's like, I don't need this anymore.
But you know what some people would say, and I know that there's people listening right now, they say, and I understand this perspective, okay, so bear with me a little bit. They're saying, look, that's fine that, Paul, he was a smart guy and all that, and he really was looking at conservative principles, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? He wasn't a fighter. We weren't fighter. People who are on my side got sick and tired of getting rolled over. Yeah. So that created this path, I think, for Trump, because people thought, let's face it, a lot of these politicians are wishy-washy and they're not to be trusted and all this. So it's fascinating the way that things have kind of rolled out. But I think you may or may not agree, but you get to 2028, things are going to be different no matter what, because Trump won't be there anymore. Unless he is. Well, I want to check out the book. Where can we find it? Is it available in the bookstores? You got any signings or anything like that going on?
Don't have any signings. It is available on Amazon right now, and you can also go to Death of Compromise and find links to it. But if you go to Amazon, just type in Death of Compromise, you'll find the book. You can get it either in a Kindle or you can get it hard copy right now.
Have you written books before? I should know this.
I have written a marketing book before,
That's
but
what I thought.
This is the first politics book I've ever done. I've always been a journalist in terms of writing articles. I've written articles for everything from ESPN.com to TechCrunch to what have you, and everything in between. But this is the first time I've gone, 75,000 words.
Yeah, that's a lot. Aaron, thanks. It was great to see you. We haven't seen each other for a while. I see your stuff on Facebook. Awesome. Thanks for coming in. We'll come back with a little bit more here on a Friday edition of the Mark Reardon Show. Sue is off. She'll be back next Wednesday.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Some delays if you're on 270 northbound spots from Manchester up to past 64 now. Getting better, though. Southbound side from Page to before 64. Westbound on 70 from 367 over to Jennings Station on the brakes. Then Gilmore to 64. Eastbound side gets heavy into downtown. 64 westbound over the Poplar Street Bridge. Kind of jammed up because of an earlier crash. That's gone. Then your Slow Kings Highway to Big Bend, 364 to 70. Eastbound side from McKnight to Big Bend. And 170 southbound slow from Ladue down to 64. I'm Trent Erickson at 523 on 97.1 FM Talk.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-948-7878. That's 800-948-7878.
Are you tired of feeling sick and tired? I'm Dr. Nick Barnes of Health From Within Family Chiropractic. Our simple 5-step approach aligns your health naturally. We correct spinal abnormalities to maximize nerve supply, focus on pure and simple nutrition, exercise and oxygen, mindset, and minimizing toxins in your body. Transform your health today with Health from Within, conveniently located on Manchester in Rock Hill or online at healthfromwithinstl.com.
License number GL250000615.
We've seen all kinds of clogs, so remember the rule. Only flush 3 things. Number 1, number 2, and toilet paper.
What about my dinosaurs?
No.
My monster truck?
Nope.
What about...
If it's not the big 3, don't flush it.
But if someone does flush a dinosaur...
Call Grasser. We clear the clog and get things moving again.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
The Mark Reardon Show is St. Louis conservative.
This could be kind of fun this weekend. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen. You know, the president's going to do the White House Correspondents' Dinner. He has not done that previously in the first term or in this one, so he'll be there tomorrow night. Here's Carolyn talking about it on Fox a little earlier.
Tomorrow night, the president will be going for the first time since he's been a sitting president. I can tell you, without getting ahead of the president, he is going to give a very entertaining speech, not just for all of those journalists, but for the entire country. So your audience should tune in to the president's speech tomorrow night. It's going to be a good one.
So it sounds like it's a speech, not exactly the way we usually do it with comedians. I don't even know if someone's hosting that, to be honest with you, but that could be very interesting. I think it'll be fun to watch, and it's going to give me material for Monday afternoon. By the way, Carolyn, we're not going to hear from her for a while. She's pregnant. She's due very soon. So I think this was her last briefing this week, and then she was on Fox this morning talking about some of the stuff that's going on, including Iran and the talks.
Yes, I can confirm Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be off to Pakistan again tomorrow morning to engage in talks, direct talks intermediated by the Pakistanis, who have been incredible friends and mediators throughout this entire process, with representatives from the Iranian delegation. Look, the Iranians reached out, as the president called on them to do, and asked for this in-person conversation. So the president is dispatching Steve and Jared to go hear what they have to say. And we're hopeful that it will be a productive conversation and hopefully move the ball forward.
I hope so, too, but I'm not really that, optimistic about talks. Now, one of the things that I didn't even cover this on the roundtable this afternoon, I wish I would have, we ran out of time, is the indictment this week for the Southern Poverty Law Center. And Carolyn addressed that and how awful some of the details are that are coming out.
The Southern Poverty Law Center was a very reputable organization at one point in time, and they have unfortunately transformed into a criminal organization run by fraudsters who are paying for and inciting this very racism that they claim to stand against. The Charlottesville hoax, it's a brilliant point, because that is one of the most vicious and egregious smears that has been used against President Trump over the course of the past 11 years.
She's not wrong about that. It's one of the things that has annoyed me and really pissed me off about the media, because they've been lying about that, and the Democrats have lied about it the whole time. It was very clear that it was taken out of context, but no one wanted to ever admit that. And now we find out that it was the Southern Poverty Law Center that actually paid someone to be there to whip all that up into a frenzy. Now, one of the things I said earlier this week on that topic is, okay, this is an interesting indictment. How many people are going to hear about it? Because the rest of the media probably not going to cover it.
I would like to criticize the legacy media. If you read articles about this case and this indictment in the New York Times, they're trying to claim that this is a weaponization of justice from the Trump DOJ. It couldn't be further from the truth. This was a grand jury indictment made up of Americans who realized that this organization was engaging in criminal activity, and they need to be held accountable for it.
Yeah, the grand jury saw all the evidence. They just said, now they say, what, you can indict a ham sandwich, right? But they did see the evidence. They thought that there were crimes that were committed. The indictment reads very interestingly. Good nighttime reading if you haven't checked it out. Kevin Abing is coming in next. We're going to wrap up this afternoon on some baseball. We're going to go back 100 years to 1926. His book is called Baseball Magic and Mayhem in St. Louis, the 1926 Cardinals World Series champions. Coming up, I'll also have an audio cut of the day.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
And things are improving pretty quickly out there. We've got 270 southbound, still a slight delay from Page to before 64, 70 westbound, 367 to Jennings Station, still on the brakes a touch, and then approaching 64, eastbound side slow getting into downtown. Westbound 64, approaching and over the Poplar Street Bridge, a little bit heavy from an earlier crash, but then you're just slow Kings Highway to Clayton, past 364 to 70. Eastbound McKnight to Big Bend, still slowing, and 170 southbound from Forest Park Parkway down to 64. I'm Trent Erickson at 529 on 97.1 FM Talk.
Brought to you by USPS Ground Advantage.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast.
Pump up the volume.
When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
It's Mark Cox. If you enjoy your backyard like I do, you need to reach out to my friends at Chesterfield Fence and Deck. They can make it better. And make it better in time for this summer. If you reach out to them right now, you mention my name when you call, they're going to give you 20% off the bottom line of your next outdoor project with Chesterfield Fence and Deck. Listen, when you've been around since 1968 and you've been under the same ownership, you take a lot of pride in what you do, and it's a sign you have the very best when their installation crews show up at your house. Here's the thing about it. They do free in-home estimates, no obligation. They'll come out and design a project for you if that's what you're looking for. And of course, they carry the beautiful Vecadeck vinyl decking for the decks that are no maintenance. How about that? You don't have to worry about it. The colors are beautiful, plus custom sunrooms and screen rooms and pergolas. Reach out today to my friends at Chesterfield Fence. It's chesterfieldfence.com.
Because we have lawyers in all 50 states, I see lots of lawyers' ads. Most seem to be bragging on results, but are they true or misleading? For example, in some cases, a firm may try a case even though the at-fault party has no lawyer, then brag in the ad about their results. My son Matt got one for nearly $50 million, but we never collected one dime. Some lawyers may say they got a result even though they were sitting second chair at a firm like mine, and even though they had little to do with it. Happens all the time. All that glitters is not gold. At Morgan & Morgan, our results are real. Visit forthepeople.com and go to settlements and verdicts to see for yourself what your case may be worth before you hire a law firm. Do your homework. Fact check. It's easy and too important not to. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Injured? Dial Pound Law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
5:32. This portion of the show is sponsored by our friends at Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Freedom has a frequency. 97.1 FM Talk.
97.1 FM Talk.
St. Louis Conservative.
I have a good friend in Milwaukee where I lived for just shy of 10 years. His name is Dan DeWert. He works for Marquette University. We've known each other for a long, long time. He sent me a message a while back about a friend of his who wrote a book about the St. Louis Cardinals. And let me tell you about Milwaukee, man. They are still so sore about 1982. You have no idea. But Kevin Abing is with us. He lives up there in Wisconsin. He's written a book about our Cardinals called The 1926 Cardinals World Series Champions. Kevin Abing, welcome to 97.1 in St. Louis. How are you?
I'm doing great, Mark. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Dan DeWert gave a high recommendation, so don't suck because I'm going to hold it against him. I just want you to know that. But a little bit about yourself. So we don't know each other, but you grew up in Wisconsin. You went to Marquette, right? What else do we need to know?
Yeah, so I grew up in southwest Wisconsin. A family had a farm there, and been a lifelong Cardinals fan because my dad was a Cardinals fan. His dad was a Cardinals fan. Because they could listen to them on
KMOX, yeah.
Way back when. And so he just kind of passed that on to me, and I've been carrying that with me ever since. And I did go to graduate school at Marquette, got my master's and a PhD in U.S. history from there. And, as of right now, I'm kind of on the tail end of my my working career, just kind of, doing some part-time work and some freelance writing and that kind of thing. So,
well, that's fun. Yeah, we always like to share. Look, I love the stories of people who grew up listening to KMOX and listening to the Cardinals. Like Billy Bob Thornton is my prime example from down in Arkansas. But it's amazing how many people you run into, and of course, the call letters because of that. But let's go back then 100 years because this was pretty significant. I hope we're not in a 38-year drought this time around because we're in a rebuild. But they were 38 years of frustration before 1926 comes along, right?
That's right. All right. The last title that people of St. Louis enjoyed was in 1888, and so they were starving for a winning baseball season by the time 1926 rolled along, and so things just kind of all fell into place for the Cardinals that year, and they were able to take home the title against the heavily favored Yankees in the series.
So what is the backstory of that? Because we're talking now like the Branch Rickey era, right? And Rogers Hornsby.
Yes, and Branch Rickey. He had worked for the Cardinals for several years before 1926. He was actually team president for a while, and then he took on the actual field managing duties for several years as well. And then once he was replaced in 1925 after the Cardinals got off to a really crappy start. And so Sam Breeden, the owner, fired Rickey and hired Rogers Hornsby as the player manager. And Rickey, understandably was a little upset with the way things went down, and he seriously thought about leaving the Cardinals. But fortunately, Breeden talked him into continuing on as general manager so he could continue to run the farm system, which was absolutely essential to the Cardinals' success. I mean, they just couldn't compete, to buy high-level talent from the minor leagues against the Yankees, and some things never change, obviously, and teams like that. And so the farm system was crucial to their success.
So were there, as you go through the season, like if we're 100 years ago, like right now, we're in April, about to turn the calendar into May, beginning of the season. I don't even know how the calendar really worked back then, but what were the expectations for the 1926 Cardinals? Probably not that high, right?
Well, actually, they were probably higher than they had been for several years because after Hornsby took over as manager in 1925, the team really responded well to his managerial style, and they climbed up the standings and they finished fourth in 1925. And so going into 1926, a lot of the sports writers at the time, they figured that the top three contenders would be the Giants, the Pirates, and they included the Cardinals in that as well. So yeah, and so they opened up the series or opened up the season against the Pirates, who were the reigning world champions at the time, and they took 3 out of 4 from them. And so things are looking great. But then after that, they kind of floundered for probably like the next month. And so things are not as rosy as they had been prior to the start of the season. But they turned things around as the summer heated up and carried it home.
The book is called Baseball Magic and Mayhem in St. Louis, the 1926 Cardinals World Series champions. Kevin Abing is my guest. What is the mayhem part of 1926? Well,
there's it was one of the most frenetic pennant chases, in the National League up to that time. There was the Cardinals, the Pirates, and then the Cincinnati Reds were a surprise contender at the time. And later in the season, late like mid-August into mid-September, the league just kept changing hands back and forth, pretty much every other day it seemed. So there's that. That's part of the mayhem, if you will. But mostly it refers to the reaction from Cardinals fans once they clinched the pennant. And then when they won the World Series, I mean, the city just went absolutely berserk. It was, they had not seen anything like that since the end of World War I. And so it was,
Yeah, they beat they beat the Yankees, and it was a tough series too. It was like 4-3, and I guess we faced the Yankees 5 times, won twice. They blew us out a couple of those series, but that was a 4-3 series for the Cardinals in 1926.
Yes, and I mean, the odds makers, they pretty much, they put big money on the Yankees to win because, Babe Ruth. He said, "Oh, there'll be nothing to it. We'll basically, wipe them off the face of the earth, basically." So yeah, it was one of those classic World Series. Came down to a Game 7. One of the most memorable pitching confrontations when Grover Cleveland Alexander, who a lot of people thought was hungover from after he won the game before. He came in the 7th inning, and he faced Tony Lazzeri with the bases loaded, and the Cardinals are up by 1 run, and it was just one of those historic moments that you get during the World Series.
I love Grover Cleveland Alexander, right? Even looking at pictures of this guy is quite something when you go back and you see what he looked like. He was called Old Pete and Alexander the Great, I think. And he was a Cubs guy. Wasn't he a Cubs guy?
He was. Well, he came up and he pitched with the Phillies for like 5-6 years or so, and they traded him to the Cubs, and he pitched with them until the middle part of 1926 when he suffered from alcoholism.
Yeah.
He had epileptic fits, and he was also shell shocked because he served during World War I, and so he was just a shell of himself by 1926, and his drinking got so bad that the Cubs, he clashed repeatedly with their new manager, Joe McCarthy, and so McCarthy just got fed up with him and cut him loose. He said, if the Cubs, we finished last the year before with Alexander, and if we finish last this year, I'd rather we do it without him.
Wow.
So they just let him go.
Well, we thank them for that, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, and I guess, just as an example of the lucky breaks that the Cardinals had that year, this was a game in late June, and they lost the game to Pittsburgh that dropped them into 3rd place behind Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. And by losing that game, they were able to claim Alexander before the Reds or Pirates claim.
That's interesting too. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it turned out to be a brilliant move. I mean, Alexander, his record with the Cardinals was 9-7, but he pitched, great ball. I mean, and really stabilized the pitching staff because they were kind of struggling at that time, and he came along at the right time to just to lend some leadership and experience to that staff, and if they hadn't claimed him, they wouldn't have won the pennant. I'm firmly convinced of that.
How much do you think because St. Louis and you're a Cardinals fan, right? And you know the difference. Look, Milwaukee's come a long way since I was there because when I was there, they lost all the time, and they got a new owner in Mark Anastasio, and he really has done well, and obviously they've competed even better against the Cardinals. But that this town is a baseball town, and it's kind of rather sad what's happened in the last couple of years because the stadium's been empty. But how much did 26 create that baseball town that we are? It sounds like, I think, a lot, right?
I think so. Because, they had been, in the lower end of the standings for so long that, that people just, I don't know if I don't want to say that they soured on the Cardinals, but, they certainly weren't drawing like they could. And actually, the stadium at Sportsman's Park at the time had undergone like a $500,000 renovation just prior to that 26 season. And, a lot of people, some sports writers said that, this is another sign that the Cardinals are going to do well because, any team that opens up or, moves into a new stadium, they're going to do well. I mean, they pointed to the Yankees in '23 when Yankee Stadium opened up and they won the World Series that year. The Senators, who had won the World Series a couple years before the Cardinals did, they had refurbished Griffith Stadium, and so there was this expectation that they enlarged the seating capacity of Sportsman's Park from 18,000 to I think like 33,000. So they're expecting big things, and that first World Series title I think really was the cornerstone of drawing fans, and creating that, like you said, creating that baseball town. That it still is today.
I think so, Kevin. So before I let you go here, let me ask you what you think of the 2026 Cardinals. Look, we're very happy that and every team in the Central has a winning record, which is crazy right now. So it's going to be interesting to watch this. But we've got some young talent. We're very aware that we're in a rebuild. What are your thoughts on this team moving forward? We just said, Ethan and I were talking about this, my producer, in the last hour. You look at the schedule here for the next couple of weeks. We got Seattle at home, and then the Dodgers come next week. We play the Pirates in between that, and then the Brewers. So we got a couple of weeks here. I think 2 weeks from now, it'll be interesting to see where these standings are.
Right, yeah, because I don't think they have a day off for the next 2 weeks. So it's going to be a grind, definitely, for them. But I'm cautiously optimistic about the team. I mean, with the young guys like J.J. Weatherholt, Jordan Walker seems to have turned things around.
He certainly has.
And, so I'm hoping that, and with all the new minor league players that they've acquired over the past, off season, hopefully that'll start, continue to filter up to the big league club, and they can carry this forward. And, I'm not going to say that they're going to win the division or anything, because my wife, the Brewers fan, is listening to me here speak. So
I have one of those too at home, by the way. You're not alone.
Yeah, we don't talk when the Cardinals and Brewers play. So
my wife has tried to co-opt my daughter, and like over the summer went to Summerfest, and they bought a Brewers hoodie, which I was not happy about. So I'm playing tug of war here with my own child. Look, Kevin, great to have you on. I'm glad that our mutual friend Dan DeWert introduced us. Baseball, Magic, and Mayhem in St. Louis, the 1926 Cardinals World Series champions. The book is out right now. Come see us in St. Louis. I'll take you to a game.
Oh, that sounds great. I'll take you up on that.
Good luck with everything. I appreciate it. Take care. We're coming back. We got audio cut of the day before we wrap here on a Friday afternoon.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
So westbound 64 is slow going over the Poplar Street Bridge, and then you get to Kings Highway to Clayton, kind of your typical stuff from 364 over to 70. But eastbound side from McKnight to Big Ben's jam. But in the middle of that at 170, they're clearing a crash out of the left lane, so that might be a little thicker than normal. 170 southbound from Forest Park Parkway down to 64 is slow. 70 on your eastbound side, getting into downtown, still a little bit struggle. And 270 southbound Page down to before 64 is a little bit heavy. I'm Trent Erickson at 547 on 97.1 FM Talk.
97.1 FM Talk in Action is spotlighting Our Ladies Inn, providing safe shelter, care, and support for pregnant women and children facing homelessness. Since 1982, they've helped local families build stable, independent futures. Learn more at ourladiesinn.org.
If you are looking for a family law attorney, and this usually means the end of a marriage or divorce, I have a great recommendation. But also keep in mind, it could mean things that happen in the aftermath of divorce. I just mentioned, with Kevin, I used to live in Milwaukee. Unfortunately, I was divorced in Milwaukee, came back here to St. Louis, had to redo the parenting plan with my kids and all that stuff. And that's something that obviously a divorce attorney, a family practice attorney like Susan L. Ward can handle. And she's awesome. She's got a bubbly personality. You can feel her personality when you even hear her here. We do some interviews occasionally on 97.1 FM Talk. But really, more importantly, if you need her help, she's there for you. This is a tough area of the law. I can't tell you how angry I was when all this was going on. But you need someone like Susan in your corner, especially if you have kids. And my kids were very, very young at the time. If you need her help, stlfamilylaw.com. They have a beautiful office in De Pere that they just moved into about a year ago in May. So it's almost like the 1 year anniversary. free. If you need to get a hold of Susan, you can either call the office, that's easy, 314-783-9400, or the website. And the website's got some blog posts and some other things that you might find interesting. The one thing that I think I know Susan would tell you is if you're thinking that this is where your life is heading, don't put it off. Don't put the call off. Get with her as soon as you can. STLFamilyLaw.com, the focus on family law, the emphasis on you.
This is Congressman Bob Onder. Americans demanded border security, and House Republicans delivered. According to the Department of Homeland Security, for 10 consecutive months, U.S. Customs and Border Protection has reported 0 illegal aliens released at the border. I'm proud to have worked with the Trump administration to secure our southern border and uphold our immigration laws, and will keep fighting to advance strong policies that protect Missourians and keep America safe.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint by a lot, backed with our 25-year transferable warranty. Paint a house, shield a home. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, steel, aluminum, cedar, and more. We are the only coating company selected by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where all 3 episodes concentrate on unpainted brick. If you maintain or own a business with a tired-looking building, you owe it to yourself to look at Rhino Shield and our beautifully durable color schemes. Evaluations are free. We're making buildings pop and be noticed again, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks, exceeding expectations every day with our products, people, and performance. Now is the time to call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or go to 877-25rhino.com and see how honest and transparent we really are. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Annie Fry here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They are the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
I make Ethan pull some bumper music for me on Fridays since they stole that from me last year, but I still do it on Fridays in the 5 o'clock hour. A little Father John Misty here. Really, really good. We have audio cut of the day coming up here in just a moment. I should probably look, and Fred usually makes a note if something's coming up on Monday, but I don't think I've really paid attention to that, so I'll just kind of stop here and we'll do audio cut of the day. Sue is out until Wednesday, so I know that is actually the case. I do want to talk, it's funny because many of you might know that I was, and I guess I don't know where I stand right now with this, a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. Went to see him in Barcelona, open up the tour a couple years ago. I've known about his politics for forever, but he's way crossed the line for me at this point, and I don't even recognize the person that I've seen in concert like 45 times. And there was a guy that wrote a column about this kind of relatability kind of topic that tagged me because he's been a guest on the show, and we were having some interaction. I might have him on Monday because, it's just one of those things for a lot of us, and I think he's alienating at least 30 to 40% of his audience right now, and I guess he doesn't care because he sold the catalog for $500 million. So I do wonder, though, and I've had other fans say this, does he do the same thing if he hadn't sold that catalog? My answer is I do not think so.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Way back in the early 1990s, I had a very good friend of mine who dated Ray Hartman, and I got to know Ray just a little bit back then. We used to argue about the Gulf War, and he was against it, and I was for it. That was the first Gulf War. But what was interesting is when I moved back here to St. Louis, I'd been gone for about 10 years in Milwaukee. In 2006 is when I came back. I'd never had any interaction with Ray Hartman, never had him on my show or anything like that. Well, he died in a very tragic accident. He's the founder of the Riverfront Times and obviously well-known from Donnybrook, which is a legendary show. This is a terrible, terrible story. He died at the age of 73 yesterday in a crash in St. Charles. It was a semi-truck's wheels that came loose and crushed the roof of his car, and I think the only good thing is he may have been killed relatively instantly. This was like at 64 west of I-270 yesterday afternoon, and it was confirmed by his longtime friend and attorney, Andy Leonard, this morning. So Charlie Brennan, my former colleague from KMOX, remembered Ray Hartman.
Ray was
St. Louis institution. I mean, everybody knew the guy from the Riverfront Times and, of course, one of the founders of Donnybrook. He and Martin Dugan and Rich Coster, Bill McClellan, Mark Vittert started that show in January of 1987. And until 2 years ago, he was in people's living rooms every Thursday night.
So a little clip here and some memories from Donnybrook.
Welcome to Donnybrook, a freewheeling exercise with no holds barred.
Businesses that aren't run as well as they should. Anheuser-Busch is not making charitable contributions to the NFL. They advertise in the NFL for one reason alone: they sell beer.
My dear friend Martin, I worked for at the Globe Democrat in high school, invited me to audition for the show, and McClellan, and we actually auditioned in Mark Vittert's kitchen, so it wasn't a certainty that we somehow made the cut.
Really, a St. Louis legend, media legend. There's no doubt about that. Ray Hartman, dead at the age of 73. That will be audio cut of the day. Have a great weekend. We'll go out with Father John Misty. I love this song. We'll talk on Monday at 3.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Westbound on 70, pretty jammed up from Kings Highway to Jennings Station with a crash in a lane. Westbound side of 64, heavy from Clayton to Big Bend, and the eastbound side from McKnight still heavy over to Big Bend, or about 170 with a crash in the left lane. And 170 southbound in that same area, slow going from Forest Park Parkway down to 64. This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. I'm Trent Erickson at 5:55 on 97.1 FM Talk.
If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. A winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. Enter now at overheaddoorstlouis.com.
Bringing a data center online takes more than equipment. It takes precision. Graybar helps customers predict, stage, schedule, deliver, and verify every step of the build with critical products that are available now. From networking and wireless to critical power and testing tools, our teams help you reduce downtime risk and keep projects on track. Speed, scale, ready now. Yep. Graybar does that.
Let's just face it, right? Your home should work for you, not against you. Hi, it's Kim, and if you've been dreaming of a new kitchen, bathroom, or a finished basement, now's the time to call Lakeside Renovation and Design. They're St. Louis's trusted experts in turning houses into dream homes. Just imagine this, a spa-like bathroom, maybe a chef-inspired kitchen, or how about a cozy basement perfect for some movie nights? Their team handles everything from design to installation, so you can just sit back and enjoy the process. Visit lakesidearty.com today to start your dream renovation.
This is attorney Todd Nissenholtz of Kaufman Townsley. If you're the victim of a careless driver due to no fault of your own, the only way to know what your case is worth is by uncovering the